Hey everybody, welcome to the first episode of...
I forgot the name.
Oh my God.
Two Idiots on a Couch.
Well, he remembered now. Jesse was making a big deal about having this be,
You know, though, it kind of goes in sync with the name, right?
yeah, probably. Literally 5 seconds ago, Jesse was like, we're going to say in harmony though, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's basically a rebranding. We used to do a podcast that we called Nerdcast, and we did some of those in person. We did some of those over Discord. We did some of them live on Twitch, but definitively I'm just going to make this an in-person experience since me and Jesse already hang out pretty much every week and sit on this couch. Yeah. So that's what we're going to do. It's going to be the same content, though. It'll be stupid life stories that we have, and then mostly video games and tech stuff, because that's all we know.
What's wrong with video games and tech stuff?
We don't know anything else. You good?
Yeah, sorry. It's a work email. That's fun.
Wow, mute your phone.
I have the notes open here, so please.
No, mute your phone. I don't mean turn your phone off, but come on, man, be professional here. We're obviously professionals. We got a penis between us. Yeah, so I'm Beta.
I'm Jesse.
E3 just happened last week.
Yeah, what was it, June 16th? No. Was it in this past week?
It was over the weekend, so it was last Thursday.
As of recording, it is currently June 19th.
It's June 19th, so I think it ended on the 16th, but it started, I think, on the 12th. I think, because the Xbox One was on the 14th.
Yeah, my sense of timing is very skewed. I kept thinking it was Thursday on Tuesday. So,
sorry, my mustache is getting in my nose. It's like such a pain in the ass. Like I'm like breathing in my nose or my mustache hair.
A little tickle.
Such a bad tickle. I meant to trim today, but
that was actually the problem when I was wearing a mask at work a lot.
Yeah.
Is especially when I was like letting my mustache grow for the whole Movember thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I think at that point my mustache was probably like a half an inch long, so it just kept going up into my nose, and it's like,
yeah, it's the worst. I have this problem for like 3 weeks out of the growth period, and then once it stops going in my nose, it starts going in my mouth. So like I don't have this perfect thing.
Yeah.
So as soon as it gets into my nose, I really should just start trimming it,
or mustache wax
or combing it, or mustache. I mean, that's true. I could do that. That's a lot of work though. I put in minimal effort. Most people can tell when they look at me. They could just be like, that guy, minimal effort. Like you could just tell. Anyway, so yeah, E3 happened, and we actually both were pretty busy while it was going on.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say I missed like 90% of it.
I missed almost all the presentations. I saw some of the recaps, but the reason specifically I put Xbox on there is because that was the only one I watched. It was the only one I was actually sort of excited for, because they did Bethesda with it as well.
Yeah, because they did the acquisition maybe about, I would say 3-4 months ago.
Yeah. And we're back. We had someone open a door, and the mic's probably going to pick it up, but it was tense. Anyway.
Did you ever hear about that fire in the circus? No?
No.
It was intense.
Oh my God. What if the circus wasn't in a tent, though? Like, you're just assuming things now.
It could be an outdoor. That's my go-to joke. just throwing that out there.
We gotta find you some new go-to jokes. Yeah, anyway, so Xbox was the only one that I was really excited for, and I did start watching it, and I knew that it was all digital, like everyone was doing their own thing, like at a soundstage somewhere, so there's no audience or whatever, like they weren't in-person presentations, so I knew it was going to be a little different, but I was so impressed, and I actually like this format way better.
No, I agree with you. Kind of like similar to how Apple's taken the approach to like their conferences, which is all digital. I much prefer it that way, because it's not like you're going to be going off some like crazy, weird, gimmicky script.
Right.
Where everything's just kind of back to back to back.
I think I kind of get Apple's, though, because even though the tech demos are obviously like scripted in a way,
yeah,
they still like have failure, so you can tell that like those things are
Sure.
are
It's like it just
real.
shows you're human.
Yeah, right. It just like you can tell that they actually had to make a product to do that. Whereas pretty much always with game stuff, you could never really tell if it was real or not. Like they've had people play games that was just a video of a rendered game.
You know what? I actually found that I dug up recently.
What?
Because I saw it on Reddit. It was the Kinect demo for what they call it back then, like Project, not Lazarus, was it?
No, Lazarus was.
Am I thinking of Mass Effect?
No, Project Lazarus was. I mean, that was a thing in Mass Effect, but Project Lazarus, I actually think was a real thing for Xbox. I think that was the name of HoloLens, though.
Oh, okay. Well, whatever the code name was for the Kinect, whenever it was, and they announced it, and they had like the in-person demo, and they showed like the Star Wars, like the guy waving around the lightsaber and doing like the Force blast. It was like that was very, very weird.
Yeah, like game stuff has never tried to like tell the truth in a way, you know, like because that came after most of the tech stuff already came out. Well, so all of these conferences were usually just games. It was all video, so they knew that if they had to do something, they had to either perfect this piece of the game if it was live gameplay.
Well, two things come to mind,
just
right?
fake it, you know.
Two things come to mind. One where it was the Halo 2 demo.
Yeah.
Which I didn't play Halo 2 until very late, but a lot of people said that, or from what I heard, was the Halo 2 demo was like a mock representation of the game.
Yeah, because it was way different.
Far from developed.
Have you seen that demo?
Yes.
Yeah, that demo was so much better. Like the game is really good. Like obviously Halo 2 is like a fan favorite game.
Yeah.
But you could put away dual wielded weapons. You could like it looked like there was like some sprint like and dodge and like things that just weren't in the game. It just seemed like that stuff was there.
Yeah. And another game that comes to mind is definitely BioShock Infinite, where apparently that was far, far, far from its actual release.
Yeah, I mean, E3's always been a place to, like, obviously have pre-rendered things and things that weren't, like, actually possible. And, like, tech conferences have always done that, too. Like, Apple, Microsoft, like, all these places have done things on stage that never come out or, like, you know, don't pan out the way that they actually wanted it to. But I think games have always gotten away with that anyway. So having it be digital now, where they don't even have to do that, like they knew that they weren't going to be showing off like gameplay, and if they were, it was just going to be pre-recorded gameplay. So they really like fed into that. So what I liked about it is like when you have a normal game presentation, it's like person comes out and they're like, oh my god, thank you all of our fans for being here, like we know you're excited for what's coming up. Exposition for 10 minutes, like, oh, are you gonna we're gonna tease them out. We have this really massive crazy game that you're excited for. Everyone's like, oh, it's the game we're waiting for, and then it's like Sparkles 2, and they're like, no one wanted
definitely
it.
sounds
like
an Ubisoft.
Like, you know, it's just like or even like Bethesda, like as well. Like, you know, all these conferences have the same thing because there's games that people want, and they're like, oh, are you ready? We know everyone's super excited for this game, and you're like, oh, yeah, like I'm so excited, like, oh, new Elder Scrolls.
I just think like,
you know,
that's the format to follow. Yeah, that's the format to follow, right?
No, sure, but that's like, to me, that was always like, I hated like the 10 minutes of exposition and then this 5-minute lead up to this thing that you're just like, eh. Xbox's presentation, it started with, I forget who was on there. Two people, they're like, hey, we know you guys are excited for like some of the new Xbox things. We know you guys have enjoyed.
Phil Spencer, was it?
Oh, shit, no, it was Todd Howard actually started this one.
Oh, really?
And he said, yeah, thank you from us at Bethesda and Xbox. Like, we thank you. We actually have a really cool thing to show you guys. And after 2 minutes of Todd, it's like the shortest time Todd's ever talked. Like, it was like they got him to only talk for 2 minutes.
The question is, did he wear his leather jacket?
He did wear his leather jacket, yeah. I'm pretty sure he did, if I remember correctly.
That was my favorite thing about like every time they did like a QuakeCon or something, or an E3 presentation, it was like there's a bingo card of what Todd Howard would say or what he would wear.
So it had 2 minutes of him talking and him thinking. I can't remember if he started. I don't know. Anyway, 2 minutes of talking. It immediately went into a bunch of trailers. And then I think Todd Howard spoke for 2 minutes, and then it went into some Bethesda stuff specifically. Okay. And they showed Starfield. It was just trailer after trailer after trailer. Then it went back into Xbox stuff. It did Xbox stuff for like...
You know what I heard, by the way?
An hour.
That Starfield is definitely going to be like an Xbox PC exclusive. Yeah, just because I guess the Microsoft acquisition. But they didn't like have much. I don't know if like to date, as of we're recording this, if they had made any other statement about it. But I know a lot of PlayStation players were definitely disappointed in.
Have PlayStation acquire. Like, that's like, here's the thing. There's a lot of Xbox players that are disappointed that they can't play Last of Us and that
Sure.
they can't, and PC players.
Right.
At least with Xbox, they're getting a majority of players because they're getting the PC players and they're getting the Xbox players.
Right.
So if PlayStation wants to be competitive and have their things and have people be less upset, they need to move some of their stuff onto PC. It's really just a big benefit for PC players, but I don't mind that per se.
No.
Because at the end of the day, PC players are always just going to buy things on PC. Like, I think there's very few PC players who go out of their way to get a console just for a specific game. Because
Right.
at the end of the day, they're just going to play games on PC.
Right.
And that's it.
No, I would
I know a
agree.
few people who just want consoles, but
I also guess in this day and age too, where you have a shortage on just about everything, it's kind of hard to do anything.
yeah, we can't even get those now anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I just think, like, especially because PCs range so much that if I'm going to spend $2,000 on a PC, I'm not going to go out of my way to spend $600 on a
On a console.
on a console
Yeah.
as well, I mean, like, I have a PS4, but I waited until PS4. I think I got that for $199. Like, I waited
it.
until they were on sale. Yeah, because they were $299, and then they went on sale for
Sometimes
$100
I
off.
forget how cheap these go for.
Yeah, I mean, like, after the first 3 years, they dropped drastically, but
Right.
that's, after all, like, the cool games, because they're already starting to work on, like, next-gen stuff.
Right,
Like, I
right.
think they were already announcing the PS4 Pro when I got that, because it's a slim. And then they were already talking about the PS5. Like, that was already, like, on people's minds when I got that. So, it doesn't even have the fucking 4K Blu-ray player. So I
No,
can't
it
even
does not.
fucking use it.
The Blu-ray or the UHD player, which we just found that out recently because I bought the
Lord of the
theatrical
Rings.
and extended edition of Lord of the Rings, the
on 4K
4K
Blu-ray.
UHD.
And I want to watch it so bad. Like, I think I'm actually going to order a
So the
4K
1S.
Blu-ray player.
Oh, you're gonna order. I guess that makes sense if you want to. Like,
If I can find,
have it
because
as
here's the
like a
thing,
standalone.
I think a 4K Blu-ray player is like $150. So if I can find a 1S that's $199, then I might as well do that. But I think the 1S that I think is currently $199 doesn't have a disc drive, so it doesn't have the Blu-ray player in it.
Give
So I'll
it
have to-
and take it away.
Yeah, I'll have to wait till it's on sale. But yeah, I was so shocked. It was literally It was 90 minutes of just trailers and barely any talking.
Yeah.
Like, it was just like a few minutes of talking and then trailer. Like, bit of talking from Bethesda. Trailer.
I definitely
Like,
missed a lot of the games that were announced. What I do know is that a lot of the games that they sent were coming to Xbox One or whatever they call it now, Xbox One X.
Mhm.
Will definitely be available Game Pass day one.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that'll also tie in simultaneously with PC.
I don't actually know that. So there actually are a lot of games on console Game Pass that aren't on PC Game Pass. For instance, like the Borderlands, that might be off of Game Pass now. Borderlands used to be on Game Pass, but console only.
I see.
So, like, we had to buy that, but they weren't on console. Gears of War was on there too, all the Gears of Wars. I guess we technically didn't have them, but...
No, those didn't. Well, 5 came out. No, actually, I don't know when
we
we played 5.
I think we played them
That wasn't
on
around
Game
its
Pass.
release, though, was it?
What?
Gears 5?
Yeah, it might have taken a while for it to go on Game Pass. I don't actually know, though. I feel like we played it close to launch, but not, like, at launch. We did wait a while. But yeah, there were a few games that were on console Game Pass and not on. I think it's like 4 times the amount of titles, actually, because there are more games that come out on console than that do on PC. Like, there's a lot of smaller indie devs that just make console games and not PC games. And a lot of those indie devs that do make them for PC don't sell on the Xbox store, so they don't go to Game Pass on there. But because they're already selling on the Xbox store, Xbox just gives them a deal and says, like,
I see.
for this much, we'll put your game on Game Pass
Yeah.
and all this stuff. Because if it goes on Game Pass and then goes off of Game Pass, there might be people that go and buy it. Like, I bought Metro.
Yeah, I was going to say there's a few games that I was
Yeah.
like, oh, man, I really enjoy this, but I would like to own it indefinitely.
Right.
Now, Metro was definitely one of them. I actually think I don't buy a lot of new
Dragon
games.
Age. I bought Inquisition because I played
Actually,
Inquisition.
I didn't play it on Game Pass, but I bought it based off your recommendation. I just haven't played it. Inquisition.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, you played for 2 minutes. Yeah, I think like you've launched it.
I just don't like games with swords, guys. That's
Jesse does not finish games if they have swords in it. Jesse has never finished a game that has swords in it, so he can't. If it's I shouldn't say it because he's beaten Fallout 3 in New Vegas, and those do have a sword in it as a weapon.
does lightsabers count?
No.
Damn.
I guess it kind of does though. Because you beat Jedi Fallen.
Yeah, I was gonna say because that was a fun game though.
I think that was a joke of it because you started playing Knights of Old Republic, the first one, and you didn't finish that either. So we said that laser swords don't count either, or they do count because you didn't finish it. But, I definitely have to be in the mood for that, like specific type of game.
Okay.
Sometimes I just want to play games that are fantasy and like medieval and stuff like that. And then there's sometimes where I just want to play like futuristic like sci-fi games. So like Mass Effect and Star Wars, and stuff like that. And then sometimes I just want to play modern games like I'll count Fallout in there because even though it's in the future or whatever, like it's still like very modern times, and like Call of Duty and Battlefield, like those are all kind of like modern-esque games. So I mean, I get that. I get like starting game. I think also like I feel like you might have that a little bit with Mass Effect, right? Like
what?
Where you just get like kind of bored while you're playing.
I think I get burnt out.
Yeah. Well, I forget what game was it where you were playing without me, and I was like, "You're gonna get burnt out." You're like, "I don't get burnt out on games."
No, I get burnt out on every game. I don't know what you're talking about.
No, you do, and I was telling you not to play it without me, and you were like, "I'll be fine. I'll play it."
Was it a co-op game?
It was a game that had both. It was like co-op, but also you could play.
Not Halo, was it? Master Chief Collection?
No,
I don't think so. Because no, I definitely. I went through all 3 of those 4 of those games solo legendary.
Remember.
So
it could have been a multiplayer. I mean, it could have been like Call of Duty or Halo or something like that you were playing because I had work or something.
I really wish I had the memory to.
Yeah, I got no idea
to recall.
Yeah, like I definitely had that with Mass Effect because I remember I played Mass Effect. I wanted to go back to it like, I don't know, like maybe a year after I had played all 3. I was like, oh, I want to go back. But a year wasn't long enough. Like I went back and I was just like, I kind of know what happens. Like I kind of don't want to go through the fluff of the game and like, Then right before they announced the Legendary Edition, I actually had reinstalled 1 and installed a bunch of mods for it and stuff like that. And like 2 days after I started playing it, they were like, "We have this new trilogy."
Yeah.
And they're re-releasing Mass Effect. And I was like, "Shit!"
Kind of makes me wonder.
And waited,
just so we don't stray too far off topic, because while we're talking about EA games, now they have EA Play on Steam.
Yeah.
Do you think they'll ever bring over Game Pass to Steam and it's like a similar subscription service?
I actually do think that that's a thing. I think I was talking to our friend Pogo about that. And
because I wonder if that alone, because a lot of users from what I know, don't like the Xbox Store. I think
how EA Play started was it started with EA games coming back to Steam, and then they introduced EA Play. Xbox has already had Microsoft games come to the Steam store, so I think the next logical step is.
I think
Game
the
Pass
first game I can
store.
recall coming to the Steam store was Halo Wars 2.
Gears 5.
I think 2 on the Steam store. Halo Wars 2, sorry.
I think that was recently to the Steam store, though.
Maybe?
Unless you're talking about when it came out. If you're talking about when Halo Wars 2, because that came out in like...
No, when it released to the Steam store, not the game it released.
I think Gears 5 released first. I think that was a big thing.
That was on the Steam store?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I thought
it was the first time... It was the first multiplayer game, the first Gears game to come to Steam. Because they had specifically not done Gears 4 on Steam. And it was going to use Steam server, or like use Steam as its client
like the API
to
and all that?
multiplayer.
Yeah.
And it was cross-platform, so if you had it on Windows, you could still play with Steam players on, whatever you were playing on. And it was technically cross-play between consoles and PC, but it was only co-op. It wasn't full.
Right.
Multiplayer. But that was around the time that they were coming out. Like, that's around the time Fortnite started toying with the idea of doing cross-platform.
Yeah.
So we were like, holy shit, like Gears of War, and then it was just co-op, and then that's when every platform just
I would like to add on to that. That is a really cool feature. It kind of ties in a lot of like... so I feel like that definitely ties in and eliminates... I know there's still a lot of like talk on the internet of like, oh, whatever console's better, like PlayStation's better, microwave is.
It gets rid of some of that talk, but also it allows friends to not have to be tied
Right, so
to
divided.
a console,
Like,
right, based on
like, hey, do you play Fortnite? And it's like, no. Oh, I do, but it's like I can't play with you, unfortunately.
right. Like if a kid is having Christmas come up and their friends are like, oh, I'm getting a PlayStation for Christmas, you're gonna be like, I want a PlayStation for Christmas. 'Cause I want to play with my friends.
Just not that long ago, the Master Chief Collection did the cross-platform update, and I was like, you're like, oh yeah, maybe we could play with my uncle,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be pretty fun.
Yep. We haven't done that yet still, but I always talk about playing with them.
But so with, I guess, back to the Game Pass on the Steam store, you know, you said because EA Play was just their introduction of coming back into...
Yeah, so it was Jedi Fallen Order came to Steam. That was the first EA game, I think, to come back to Steam. And then every future release after that started coming to the store. And then in just one weekend, they announced they were like,
sweep,
the entire EA library is coming back to Steam now. And everyone was like, holy shit. And then they introduced EA Play. And then after that, they introduced achievements, like Steam achievements again.
Yes, that was okay. Which is me, both Beta and I are achievement lovers and hunters.
I just I think it gives progression to a lot of games. Like, I will say that, there's a lot of games I absolutely can't do. Like, I'm actually really close in Halo to getting all of them. Surprisingly, I'm 150 achievements away.
In Halo?
Yeah, in Halo.
Okay,
but I have well, that's it. But I have almost all the single player achievements done besides Halo 4 stuff, and some of the find skulls on this.
The multiplayer ones are what really essentially kill me.
Well, that's it. And I thought about it, and I was like, because here's the thing, I actually really like Halo multiplayer. So
no, I was
thinking could I
could definitely play by myself?
Because all the hard ones, to get the double kill and the triple kill and stuff like that, those aren't there anymore. I'm pretty sure. I don't think Step and Race are an achievement anymore.
No, I don't think they are. Actually.
So all the hard achievements are gone. So all you really have to do is just play the game, a lot, obviously, because I think there's an achievement to play 2,500 multiplayer games. I thought about it, and I was like, I probably could do that. You could probably play 20, 25 games a day,
At least. I mean,
and if it's a weekend or whatever, and you have
yeah.
some friends or whatever, you could definitely go through and play a lot of games, especially, depending on the game type or whatever, you could probably do it fast. So I think I could if I wanted to eventually get it, know?
No, I definitely used to be that guy who would sit there and grind out, 40 games a day.
Yeah,
but obviously that's because I wasn't doing anything with
I also
myself.
didn't do that for achievements specifically. I just played I think I have. I wonder if I could go back and look. The thing is, I actually split between 3 different accounts on Halo 3.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so back when Xbox did the free 1 month of gold with creating a new account, I created so many different accounts.
But that was limited to 3 at most, right?
That was after. It was unlimited.
Really?
As long as you had an email, you were able to do it.
Amazing.
Then it was
I wonder why they would do that.
or something.
I guess they're just trying to get users to sign up at that point.
It was a free trial. It was just right now I could go get I could get a free Netflix. Well, actually Netflix is a little different. I go get a free Hulu trial.
I bought Halo 3 for the 360 maybe, I want to say close to 4 years ago at this point. So that's already I want to say 10 years after its release, right? And inside it had the Halo 2 fold out poster, and inside of that also it had a 2-day free trial of
gold.
Of gold, yeah, unused.
That's funny.
Yeah,
I do remember when they used to do the 48-hour trials.
So I was actually amazed.
I used a few of those to create new accounts too.
Yeah.
Not for Halo though, but so I used to specifically play multiplayer games, pretty much just multiplayer games. I would play the campaigns of Halo and Call of Duty, but I never played. I didn't play Fallout or Oblivion. I didn't play either of those until 2011.
Really?
So when I was a kid, I played. Yeah, it was I think I played Fallout 3 right before New Vegas came out.
Really?
And I played Oblivion after I played Fallout 3. So I played in the span of 6 months. I had caught up on all these Bethesda games that I had missed because I had played Oblivion and Fallout, and then New Vegas came out.
I remember I was in biology class in my sophomore year when I was talking to my one of my friends, and he was telling me about this experience of Fallout 3, and I was like, "What? That's not a game."
Yeah,
I was all these things you do, pick locks, pick pockets, place a
on
grenade
someone. The thing that
I
always saw it was an achievement because with the old Xbox dashboard, you could see people's achievements. You could see what they were playing and stuff as
Yeah.
well.
Are you talking about the Blades or
No, it was after.
the
It
NXE
was
or
the
whatever?
NXE. It was after the Blades. The They're playing Fallout, so I had clicked on it and I just looked at what achievements they had just done, and it showed the one that you get for putting a grenade in someone's pocket.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? That's a thing? It was place a live grenade in someone's
That's what I
pocket?
heard about. And I was like,
crazy.
what? That sounds cool. So I immediately, because I had GameFly service at the time, and I immediately added that to my queue, and I played it, and I loved it.
Yeah, GameFly was expensive. My dad, we had that for a few weeks, and my dad was just like, "This is not."
But we only had one
worth
game
it.
at a time, so
I think we had one game at a time, but it was also just you finished most of the it wasn't helpful for him, and it was also more than Netflix at the time. It was just
right.
By the time we could actually play the game enough, we had to return it or keep it, and then it was just
well, that's the thing.
We should
it was
just buy the game at that point.
Well, yeah, I agree with you.
Because it was
I definitely
$15 a month for one game.
I definitely held on to the games for more than a month period. So
right.
But I feel like I got my money's worth out of it when we did use it.
Yeah, I think the reason that's not a service anymore is because I think it makes people think it's a value when it's really
Well, I guess it's kind of like if you were to buy 1 month of EA Play as opposed to buying the year.
Well, right, because now you could just do that, right? Now, I feel like that's a better deal. Even though you're only playing one game a month or whatever, you still have access to all the games.
Yeah, you have.
So I could
install
switch
as many
between
as you
6
want.
different games, right? If I wanted to, I could. Because I've done that. I
definitely can say I got my money's worth out of that so far.
I 1,000% did because I've played all the Battlefield campaigns.
Yep.
I found Dragon Age. Huh?
You played 4?
The campaign for 4, yeah.
Oh, I see. I had that. I've owned that game now for. Actually, funny enough, when it was on Origin, they offered all the DLC for free for Battlefield 4. I don't know what year this was, but they had all the DLC come out for free. But it's the catch is you had to buy the game.
Yeah.
But then maybe a few months ago, or actually probably within the last month or two, Twitch Prime is offering Battlefield 4 for free. Just a few months prior, they did.
Four before they did 3.
Actually, that might have been in the last 2 weeks, come to think of it. So that's cool. Maybe I'll give the game a try someday because I own all the DLC.
Yeah.
And I think it's actually still fairly populated. But
yeah,
now with EA Play, you just get the premium with all the DLC.
Right.
But if my service to EA Play ever runs out, I own the game in its entirety. But I would say I definitely enjoyed Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which got a lot of hate in the beginning. That was a very fun game.
I think it's because I haven't played them, but I know that I think people didn't like it because it was different than the first one.
I'm going to say not too much. I think it was a skill progression system is what changed it.
Mm-hmm.
But more or less, I still think it tied in almost the same. I think it also, people hated it a lot because whatever was canon in the first game, they got rid of. But the environment, the storytelling, all that was great.
I downloaded it. I have not played it yet.
So that, Need for Speed... What was the new one? Or newest one? I think it was Heat.
No fucking idea.
It's in the Miami setting. So that was fun. Or I say Miami. I think it was Miami. And then Jedi the Fallen Order.
Yep. I actually bought that game though. I bought it when it came, day one when it came.
I have yet to try Andromeda, but that's on my list.
Andromeda's a lot of fun. It's way more fun for gunplay. But we'll talk about Mass Effect later because we actually have a whole. So
there was that. I actually bought my EA Play subscription because it had just ran out, and then the pre-orders opened for the Legendary Edition. So I bought the full year of EA Play just to get the discount.
Well, you're also finishing Titanfall.
That's another great. Yeah. Oh yes, that was a good game too.
Titanfall is so good. It's a short game, but it's a really good.
So
really good game and fun game.
3 of those games, right? Catalyst, Titanfall. Oh wait.
Need for Speed.
No, I was gonna say 2 of the games at least I had gotten all the achievements in.
Oh, yeah.
Before the EA Play ran out.
I'm super close to getting the Dragon Age achievements. I think I only have 1 achievement left.
Yeah.
And it's because I have 2 achievements left. It's because I neglected part of the game for one of them, and then for another one I missed one section in the DLC, and I only
What game was
DLCs
it
once.
where I beat you to the finish of getting the achievement?
No, it was Titanfall 2. So I told Jesse to play Titanfall 2, and he started playing it, and he was like, oh, holy shit, this game's really good. And I was like, yeah. And he was playing it, he was trying to get the achievement for the beginning gauntlet run, because it's fucking annoying to get. And I remember I'd gotten it. That was like probably one of the hardest achievements to get because it's just like repetitive over and over. And while he was trying to do that, I was just like, I should reinstall it. Oh no, I have it. Sorry, it was Fallen Order. I have all the achievements in Titanfall.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah, it was Fallen Order. I remember.
Was
so
it all
Jesse
the
was playing
collectibles in Fallen Order?
It was Fallen Order.
The collectibles.
It's the collectibles, and I don't have all of BD's canisters, and I don't have the full garden, whatever the fuck it's called.
Oh, right, the plants.
And I think I guess I didn't parry enough times or something. But I did. Like, I only parried, so I either
there's
must not have done
actually
it
a very specific way to do it, which
Yeah.
I thought exactly that.
Yeah.
But
It's talking about like perfect parries, I'm pretty sure.
no. So I think there is one for perfect parries, but there's just performed parry. All you do is press like B and it goes into a slow motion. No, it was dodge. Sorry, I didn't have the dodge. You didn't have the parry.
Yeah,
I parried a lot. I had the parry very quick in the beginning of the game.
Well, I played on Grandmaster difficulty because I thought there was an achievement for it, and when I got to like 90% of the way through the game, I was like, I should just look up what achievements I have left to see if I can get any, and there was no difficulty. And I was like, oh my god. So I immediately dropped down my difficulty to like normal.
When you told me that, I mean, I was already playing through on the easiest difficulty anyway.
I was so
but
upset.
when you told me that, I had like such a relief.
I was like,
Because I like to do this thing where
it was fun though. I will say it was a lot. I will say I went back and played on easy to try and get achievements, and it's very not boring because like I think it would be boring for you if you also did your second playthrough on easy.
No,
like once you know the
so.
story, it's like not fun to just like go and just hit everything.
Well, that's my thing is like when my first playthrough, I just really like to do a general playthrough of, of the game itself, so I can enjoy the story. As to where I feel like if I were to play in the hardest difficulty, I feel like that would take away too much from me.
For me, it depends on the game. Like
that game, I think I would have gotten like too flustered over and quit early.
No, because you learn fat. Like it's not it. Like there's definitely some parts that are hard.
Yeah.
That game has really good checkpoints.
It does.
And
very Dark Souls-esque,
a lot
I'll
of
say that.
puzzles, which don't really involve difficulty that much. So combat is just sort of like learning the ropes of combat, and the combat's not like ridiculously hard. It is very Dark Souls-y. Like you do kind of have to like maneuver.
I think between that and just the way you go and visit, what was it? Where the save points, the meditation points are kind of like the campfires. Yeah, you have the meditation
points, right. So you have the campfires, and the meditation points also kind of saves as well.
Yeah, so that's pretty much, I feel like
there's checkpoints in the game too, and the puzzles are fun. It's like, it honestly is a big mix between Tomb Raider and like Dark Souls.
Yes, I would say like the climbing aspect.
Yeah, like all the puzzles are very Tomb Raider-esque, and the combat's very Dark Souls-esque, and it's, an action game. They did a really good job. Like it's one of the best Star Wars
I was
games
really honestly blown away by how well
it's like
was.
It's what the Force Unleashed should have been. Like the Force Unleashed was fun, but it wasn't great. Like the story was kind of like it involved too many of the main characters to where you're kind of like, there's no way this can be canon at all, because it just like involves too many of the main characters. And also it just like it tried to have puzzles and stuff like that with the Force powers, and it really didn't like pan out well.
Yeah, I didn't play the game to have a fair.
Whereas the puzzles in this game were actually like pretty good. Like you had like a lot of really good platforming puzzles with like your jump and having to slow time with
that, or even just like pushing stuff with the Force powers.
Yeah, even like having to pull something out to then hop on something.
The one that comes to mind is the wind puzzle with the giant balls.
That whole tomb though was really cool.
That was.
Yeah.
I thought they're all gonna be like that. Some of them were more or less like that.
So actually, if you replay the game again, you go back, there's more stuff that you can get now because you have different Force powers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is cool.
So that was the one that kind of irked me. Was actually, was it the same level?
I'm not a big fan of that, actually. By the way.
What?
I don't like when games make you go back for things.
No, definitely not.
Especially in a different like playthrough. You know,
there's
like, I'd much rather be able to do everything in one playthrough, like in one game.
There's one level that had like the stasis thing, and it like kind of like froze stuff midair. But like the second, like there was like these flame balls that touched water, they would like it just I don't know, just die out. And there was like even like the slightest drop of water that you see like dripping from the ceiling would like kill it. Yep. And that got me so mad.
Yeah, I definitely don't. I'm not a huge fan of games where like I think Mario was like that too. Like I don't know if you remember, but Super Mario Sunshine. was like that.
I only
If you
played that
wanted
on
to
the
collect-
emulator, and when speaking of that, I guess when they announced the All Stars bundle,
Yeah.
I wanted to buy it, but I couldn't justify the price. So
Yeah.
I was fine with the emulator, and I still have to go back and play it.
When you would get the different nozzles, you would have to go back because you could go through all the different worlds. You couldn't actually. I don't know if you could replay the level, but you could go back to the different worlds and then recollect like the red coins or blue coins, where the collectible was. But you'd have to go back with different nozzles, and I was just like, this just fucking like. And there was really no point in doing that in Mario. Like, it was just like there's no achievements or whatever.
No,
I forget what you got for those coins, but
it's probably some like cosmetic unlocks. I didn't get that far in the game, but Odyssey I played a lot of.
But speaking of EA Play though, because we're about to get off
transition,
but you were talking about Game Pass coming to Steam and everything like that. But I actually think that's one thing that Xbox does so well. So Xbox announced that all of these games, and pretty much, I want to say like 90% of them are coming to Game Pass. Xbox is, I think, really like pushing forward this. I think they're really pushing forward like the future of gaming. Like, I don't know how good it is for the developers, for instance, if Game Pass is like a thing.
I always
like,
kind of wondered,
like,
do they make money on that?
Well,
because like my thing is like, sure, maybe people pay for it and don't use it.
I think they have to make a deal with the developers in order for the game to be there. I think some games it might be cheaper than
because
others.
like I was gonna say like these brand new AAA games that come out, like I don't know, Gears of War for instance, where it's like they could be making $60 plus tax per game.
Yep.
And it's like, but then there are people buying Game Pass for like when it was still on beta on PC, whereas like they're paying $5.99 a month.
So think of it like this though. Think of it like Netflix, right?
Yeah.
You have Netflix. And Netflix spends billions of dollars making their own original shows, right?
Which
they also
I'm sure
pay billions of dollars in licensing for popular movies. They used to pay a bunch of money for Marvel movies and Star Wars and stuff like that.
Sorry, yeah. My hand's getting tired. I can't find a comfortable position to hold this.
I have my stomach, so I'm fine. We'll have mic stands at some point, I'm sure.
No, I kind of like this, though. I think it's like a very...
You do you, man. But I think that obviously that's profitable, right? Well,
sure.
Like with Netflix and all services that are like that, you pass a threshold where you have more people paying for things than are actually consuming what the licensing fees cost, that it is actually beneficial to that platform. So Xbox makes money on the hardware. Xbox doesn't really make money on the hardware until about year 2 or whatever.
I remember you tell me it's like they just kind of sell at a loss for the first year.
Every console sells at a loss, right? That's why when this new console comes out with all this really latest hardware and you're like, this thing's as powerful as a PC. It's like, yeah, but the reason it doesn't cost as much as a PC is because they're selling it at a loss for the first year.
Right.
But then every year after that, because that's just the price of the console, they're starting to make money because the prices of those things go down. And also they're making money from their live service like Xbox Live or PlayStation Plus.
Yep.
And on top of that, they're making money that every developer has to pay to put their game on their platform. Or they make money just from the game selling on their platform, or they make money in some way from the platform. But Xbox is doing things that are specifically good for the consumer. Like being able to pay $15 a month and get gold and get Game Pass and have access to hundreds of games. You couldn't fathom that as a kid.
I honestly...
If you had
because like
access to hundreds of games.
You're telling me about that, and it's like I was a guy who couldn't afford Microsoft points.
I couldn't afford it. I couldn't do that. If it took like forever to get like a zombies map for Call of Duty,
Well, I think like I honestly I never did Microsoft points unless I really, really, really wanted it.
For zombie maps.
But like even membership, I could never afford the full year at any given point, so I would do it in like 3 months.
So Xbox Live, I actually would do the full year because I would ask for it for like.
No, you think that'd be the smart thing for me to do, right?
Christmas or something.
I just grew up in a family without money in that sense.
No, that's fair.
So
I mean, like
I would go the 3 months.
I was lucky enough that at Christmas or my birthday would actually be able
I would
to
go
get
the 3 months and then maybe like wait a month and a half, maybe.
I have a big family.
2. And then because there were some features like the private chat, which was didn't require gold. You could be like a silver player.
Yeah, you just couldn't do party. You could do private chat. Yeah.
So thankfully I didn't have a lot of friends growing up.
Well, that's actually why well, hold on, before we get too far away from this,
I know.
I just want to push that Xbox is doing a lot for. I think that's why I was also excited to just watch their press conference because it was trailer after trailer after trailer. It was like 36 games, and then it was all of these are coming to Game Pass pretty much. Like day one, these games will be on Game Pass, and that is like crazy for gamers. Like and I think that was actually because people went to PlayStation for a long time because PlayStation's games with gold that they had, like they had their free 2 games that you got every month on PlayStation. They had some ridiculously good games. Like at one point, I think The Last of Us was free.
Yes, if I recall correctly.
At one point, I think some of the,
I know, like, they announced when Rocket League was still pretty brand new and still, like, very much in its hype.
Yep.
They had that on PlayStation Plus.
Yep, that was free.
And that was,
They've had God of War, I think at one point was free, either like older God of Wars or, I don't think it was the new one. But yeah, they've had games like that. I think that's what pushed Xbox to have this service. When the service first came, first of all, having Play Anywhere, being able to play on Xbox and PC, that was really cool. That was like one of the first things Xbox did, and I was like, this is insanely good.
Yeah.
And that's really pushing forward like gaming as a thing because that's one thing that Xbox has over PC. And then also because they were doing that, people were talking about crossplay.
Theoretically, it should make sense, right? Because Microsoft owns
Windows,
the console platform and owns Windows platform. But I think it's good though.
Some people do game on Linux, even though
I do think it's a good step forward, and especially that Windows game bar. I absolutely hated it when Windows 10 came out. Now they're making all of these like little additions, like
now you can have
the recording,
now you can have
achievements,
the recording. Now you have friends list.
Yeah, it's very much
the volume sliders when they actually
coming
work.
together.
Yeah, it used to be really terrible, and I used to immediately turn it off because it sucked up resources. But now they actually got it under control.
I also do like that they have like a mini, I wouldn't say task manager, but it'll like show you like the RAM usage, GPU usage,
it's got the little,
and all
like usage statistics.
But I think them taking that step forward into the PC gaming.
Yeah, market. I mean that's huge. I think that's huge. I think that's gonna push PlayStation to make a lot of changes. I think PlayStation's gonna come out with a service like PlayStation Now, but it's
they
gonna
kind of already have. Well, because like you had the thing where if you had your PlayStation turned on in the house, you can stream it to your PC.
Sorry, I meant more in the game. I think
no, but like I mean, if that's already like kind of like something that they have,
no, sure, right, that
place,
they could just
can
have
easily...
it. I mean, they came out with the PlayStation controller with the PlayStation adapter for PC, so that way you could specifically use your controller on the PC.
Doesn't Steam
for those games
Big Picture support PlayStation controller natively?
They do, yeah, but you still had to hook up your thing. You could Bluetooth it, but Bluetooth didn't always pick it up, so this specifically connects like with your PlayStation. And it's a much better, stronger signal because a lot of the stupid Bluetooth adapters don't really work, and a lot of computers don't have Bluetooth.
Right.
Especially cheaper motherboards don't.
I kind of lucked out with that one, but.
But with that, you still needed a PlayStation.
Yeah.
Like I needed a physical PlayStation to be turned on and connected to the internet in order to play.
Right.
And it still was limited to 1080p, and it still was limited to having to stream over the internet.
Right.
So if you're in the same house on LAN, it works better. But we had some friends who did it from their house to up at school where they were. And it worked okay. Like, you could definitely not play multiplayer. There are definitely points where if just something happened in the house and the internet fluctuated for a bit, like, your game would pause. Like, you would pause in your game.
Yeah.
Like, it was a bunch of fucking lag. So it wasn't great. Like, if they actually bring you could hook up your Steam ID to PlayStation, and you could hook up your PlayStation ID to Steam.
Was that more so for like what was the purpose of that?
I don't know, but they did it 10 years ago. Like it was forever.
The first game I can think of was Portal 2.
Yeah, it's just you could that was my thing. Is like you can, if you have that, just work with Steam to get your game. Like, because here's my thing. Xbox doing what they do for PC players, especially because games like Halo weren't on PC, you can only make money, You have a game that is already out, that already is a cash cow.
Yeah.
If you add it onto a new platform, you can only make money. Even if you're putting it on Steam and they're going to take a cut, you could still only make money from it, Which is why I think they ultimately put it on Steam, because that's just more people that are going to buy it and can make money.
Right.
You can only make more money.
Now, is this like after the period of waiting or like instantly on release kind of? that you're talking?
Well, I think now they take that into account, right? So I think when they
Sure.
were going through their back catalog, like Halo Master Chief Collection, you can only make money by doing that. So with PlayStation, if you're going to take The Last of Us 2, The Last of
that would
Us,
sell like hotcakes. Honestly.
Uncharted, like if you're going to take
Yeah.
all of those games,
Speaking of,
you can only make money if you do it correctly.
what game? They started bringing a few games over.
Horizon Zero Dawn, Between Two Souls, and
Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls. Sorry,
But that wasn't like that was a PlayStation exclusive.
Mhm. Yeah, same
that
with
went to
Detroit
Epic.
Become Human was a.
Yeah, that went to Epic Games Store.
Both those are on Steam
first.
now, though.
I think there was
Actually, I don't think
talks-
Detroit Become Human's on Steam. I think Beyond Two Souls is on
I know.
Steam. I did see it there.
I think there was
And
talks of
Horizon
the
Zero Dawn's on
Uncharted.
Steam.
One of the Uncharted games coming to PC.
I think if they would do that, they'd have to do the Nathan Drake collection.
Yeah. Well, I guess that kind of can almost segue into our next.
It can. So we're going to take a quick break from our totally legitimate, real sponsors, and we will be right back. Hi, I'm Dr. Beta. Do you suffer from banana dysfunction? Well, if you want erect banana, I need these back on. If you want erect bananas instead of floppy ones like this, have I got the medication for you. As you can tell, I'm a totally real doctor. I have a tie on that totally goes with the outfit that I'm wearing. Let me tell you about the Blue Banana. Blue Banana is a revolutionary pill that will make your banana go from floppy to erect. Ask your doctor about Blue Banana the next time you're there. And please, whatever you do, don't try and harden your banana yourself. It's very dangerous. Alright guys, welcome back. I hope you enjoyed that totally real sponsorship. I'm sure the main actor was handsome.
Yep.
I'm sure.
So
Yeah, so we're going to get into our next topic, which we alluded to a little bit. But we talked about Mass Effect a little bit in the previous segment, and they just released the Legendary Edition on May 14th. I have just beaten it.
God,
I'm watching a few.
It's almost been 2 months, but
It's
it's been a month.
It's been a month and a half. I mean, like, a month and 5 days.
Yeah. Yeah, just round up.
I just beat it. I'm watching a few streamers who are playing it, and they're on the third one. I've actually really enjoyed a lot of streamers who haven't played it before play it
No, yeah.
for the first time.
What's also like when we were talking about the DLCs, and I didn't own the DLCs for the game, and just playing all these like it's a fresh.
Yeah, because I had played 2 and 3 when they came out on console, so back in 2012 or whatever. But I actually don't even know if I beat 3. I definitely beat 2. I just wasn't invested like in the story because again, I didn't play a lot of story games back in those days. So I tried to play the first one and I was like, this sucks because I'm a kid. And, and it was also it was just like, when you're playing Call of Duty and Halo, going to like combat like that's a little weird.
It's funny because you say that, but I definitely burnt myself out of these multiplayer games very quick, like back around that time. So when I left console, I went to PC, which is probably around like 2011-ish, and I had gone strictly to single player games for like a good
No, that's what
4
I did.
years.
I got burnt out by sweaty PC players after like a year of having my PC. I'm just like, okay, never again. Like I'm only playing single player games. But also because there's way more single player games, you can do way more single player stuff. Like I have gone legitimately 3 times the amount of playtime because of mods.
Definitely.
On most games, you know?
Right.
Like even like Andromeda and Dragon Age and stuff like that. Like I was able to I think I played Dragon Age Inquisition. I've done 2 full playthroughs of that game. Like fully where I did 100% of the stuff. Maybe on the second one I didn't do 100% of the stuff. I did all the important stuff. 2 full playthroughs, and I probably wouldn't have enjoyed going through playing it the second time if I didn't have like cool mods for weapons and mods for like crafting and some visual mods for just like clothes and stuff like that. Like I probably wouldn't have gotten nearly that much time. And then I also started like 3 or 4 new characters just because I was adding in new stuff for different classes, like new powers for different classes, or like things that let you combine all your classes and play everything. So there was so much stuff I got even out of that game that wasn't really meant to be modded, you know? Like specifically I have like 1,000 different characters in Fallout.
You say that, right? I remember back when I think it was Battlefield 3. Well, I'll get onto that after.
Yeah.
But because we're talking about, that'll be another topic that I actually included in here. But because we're talking about trilogies on release, not too many games come to mind, and most of it's been like remasters or remakes. So like in this instance,
I mean, they'll never you'll never get a trilogy that's released like
a AAA trilogy.
Yeah, you can't. They'll never have
No.
that's just not happen. Even movies don't do that.
No.
You know? But I think because you have a bunch of game trilogies, right? And I think specifically why I put this topic on there is because I played through all 3 Mass Effects. I think I've missed maybe 1 or 2 things, but I'm pretty sure I did 99% of the stuff in all 3 games. Like I fully played every part. I did every side mission. I explored every planet. Like I fucking hated exploring all the planets in the first Mass Effect. But I explored every planet. I did every mission. I talked to like every character. I tried to do every side quest that I picked up, and that experience after being in the game felt so much better than it has ever felt. You know, and I played through the game before. Like I knew what the ending was.
Go back to back to back in that sense.
I think it's back to back to back. It's all been refreshed, so graphically, it looked the same across all 3 games. Like I wasn't mildly shocked by
slight
watching
differences, but yeah, I was definitely
I mean, sure.
I was like,
you're
oh
gonna
my
have
God.
you're gonna have lighting differences, right? Because the engine's gonna just be updated.
I think I
with the newer
showed
ones.
you, on the first game. There was, remember, I guess we made that little loading screen for streaming, and it was like the stealth systems on the Normandy.
Yeah,
you can see all those nice reflections across the floor.
Yeah,
and it's like you go back to the original, and it's like, wow, this looks like poop.
Yeah, I mean, definitely all way better than their original parts. But
it was definitely a big step up. But like, there's some parts where I was like, wow, this still looks kind of cruddy.
Yeah, I mean, like you can't update every single thing.
No,
like
I know.
there's still limitations in
I'm sure
what you can do, and there's probably still engine limitations because I still think it's on UA3. I don't actually think.
Yes.
Yeah, they're all on UA3, so they still had to use that because it is just a remaster. It's not a remake.
Yeah. So with that being said, when they brought it over to the Legendary Edition, did they put it on 64-bit architecture, or was it still? They did. Okay.
It is 64-bit. But yeah, the games almost look exactly the same. My Shepard looked pretty much exactly the same across all 3 games. And I played all 3 games in 2017. Oh, you customized your Shepard,
that's right. I stuck with the default.
I'm not a big fan of the default.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I didn't like the old default, and I didn't like the new default either. Even for the male Shepard, I'm not a huge fan. But
interesting.
I usually just customize the hairstyle. I usually don't customize the face that much. So my face is usually the same, but...
I'll say most of the face editing in any game, give or take, kind of sucks.
No. Well, I will say Mass Effect was good. Even in the first Mass Effect, the face editing was good. For what it was back in 2007, it was ridiculously good. For now, what they updated to is actually really good too. I think BioWare's always been actually pretty good about.
Well, I'll say this: when
faces.
they did Inquisition and they show off that character creation, I was blown away by that.
Yeah, that was cool. I even have stuff that lets you do more, like the mod that lets you.
Cause I know there's
mod it even more.
I'll save that for another topic too.
But specifically with you playing back to back, all the graphics are pretty much the same. Like having your Shepard be look exactly the same is incredible. Especially because I played all 3 games back in 2017. I played them all back to back to back, and I installed the mods to make them all have higher graphics because they have what's it called? A lot of textures. ALOT is the mod for all 3 games. They have.
Okay, I was like
ALOT. It's literally called a lot. Like that's just
gotcha.
like the mod pack for textures, and it's like 2K to 4K textures for everything in the game.
Sounds like a murder my graphics card.
They also do. No, it's probably okay for the older games because it's still they're not that big. It's only 2 or 3 gigs of textures. It's a lot for the second game, I think, is the biggest. Like, the second game is 7 gigs of textures. There's also shaders. You can import different faces and stuff like that. Like, they have a lot of things, eye fixes and stuff like that. So I downloaded all of those mods for all 3 games and played through. I tried to play through the first one. I think I got maybe halfway, and then there's a website where you can make your own save. Like, just select the options, and it gives you a save that's already made of that. because I played through like half it and I was like, I can't do this. Like I just like it's just unplayable. Like I could not.
No, it was like I think like the repetitive scenery is what like
It was just
drove
like
me to almost
it was just
insanity.
the gameplay was bad. Like it was just hard to play. I just didn't want to like. I didn't want to play. Like it sucked playing any class but like soldier in the first Mass Effect.
No.
Like it just like
I
it was
feel really bad that
especially
like
having all these weapons that you can't use. You know, like
I feel
not
really
fun.
bad that they like kind of like went on this little. I don't know, just like this whole thing, this announcement where it's like, hey, we're improving the Mako's vehicle controls. And I went in game and I immediately turned it off because I thought the new controls sucked.
I was okay with the new controls.
Yeah, I didn't like it.
I actually liked it way better than the old one.
I didn't like it.
I did not like the old controls for the Mako.
They both sucked.
I mean, they both sucked, but I did like you. It felt way more grounded. I liked it feeling more grounded than it flopping everywhere.
No matter
like.
what, though, I kind of always feel like the vehicle is going to tip over in some sense or not make it up that 90
I flipped
degree
over
hill.
the vehicle in the original game. I flipped over the vehicle constantly. I flipped over the vehicle once.
With the new controls?
The entire playthrough with the new controls. That was it.
Interesting.
Once.
Maybe I didn't go off enough like hills.
You might have had your camera control thing turned on weird or like just like boosted at weird times or something, but like because I did it because I ran into like a sniper tower and boosted at the wrong time and I flipped and I ended up stuck upside down. And even that, like, you're able to rock back and forth and like flip yourself back.
No, if you held the space bar, it would turn the vehicle over. At least on
I
PC
tried that.
controls.
Mine didn't. That didn't work
Oh, really?
But like, I had to like rock back and forth, hold space bar, and then like boost. And
The
then,
one
like,
thing I didn't like is before it was a simple press to activate the boosters. So you could press it, it'll leap you into the air, and you could press in midair again to like get like a double jump kind of.
You can do that.
No,
I could.
you have to hold down to activate.
No.
Yeah.
No, I didn't have to do that. I did not have to do that. I was doing that all the time because even when you're boosting, if you're trying to get up a mountain, you actually get up further up the mountain if you tap it instead of hold it.
Really?
Yeah. You didn't have to hold it. Maybe your keyboard's broken.
No. He always faults me into this.
I'm just saying. Like,
it's a very user specific.
Yeah, because I specifically used to just hold it. And same for boosting too, because if you boost if you boost in bursts, it actually gets you further before the boosters like run out of juice. So if you're like trying to go up a mountain and you can like tap and tap, like boost, and also I could double jump as well. You didn't go much far because like the jumping didn't really like get too far. Like it was not.
That's the thing. It was like the same momentum kind of.
But anyway, yeah. So I had played the game. So I had skipped 1 because like I couldn't have played it. I went to 2 and the textures looked really, really good. And I was able to play through that. And then I had played 3 with the texture mod, and it was really, really good. But the character changed so much over all 3 games. Even if with the textures, like going from 1 to 2, I was like, my character looks just different. Like, you know, and even like the voice sync and stuff was so much different.
Yeah.
All of that seemed like almost, you know, coherent. Like there's obviously some lighting change and stuff like that between all 3 games, but there's nothing like ridiculously crazy about going from like 1 to 2 to 3, you know?
Right. I think that was one of my like just slight pet peeves with the game is like they kind of, I guess when they re-released it as the Legendary Edition, they took away the option to change graphic settings because more or less is already maxed out. I wish you're able to fine tune it just a little bit.
I think you can in the like any settings. You can still change a lot.
Yeah,
of
I was
stuff,
trying to find that, but I couldn't.
Because you can also, I think in 2 and 3, you can actually unbound the Omni button. Like, you don't need a mod for that. You can actually just change that in the any settings. I don't know why that's not a key configuration in the settings, but I guess they added that into the any for 2 and 3 because it's fucking annoying. I still hate that. I wish they made those improvements, but because it's a remaster instead of a remake, like I get it, but they made other improvements that I just wish they like followed along with that. But to go along with, well, I don't know if you said it in this section or just the last section, but you talked about not having the DLC, and now you have the DLC and stuff like that. I think that also is a huge point of why I think this is a great thing to do. Because, one, Mass Effect's like one of the greatest trilogies in a video game.
Of course.
Like, I really can't think of another, like, trilogy of games that is as good, in my opinion.
I honestly can't really think of many that, well, re-releasing as a trilogy, like, altogether. or like re-releasing.
You have Halo, like I'll count Halo, like Halo's like a saga, but like I'll count like Halo. I think would count, but like that's good. Not as good as Mass Effect.
It was cool that they re-released those for the Master Chief Collection. I also thought it was okay that even though they took their time to space out the PC releases, that was fun.
Like to be fair,
but they're all like a month or two apart.
I mean, to be fair, it wasn't originally slated to come out on PC. So I mean, I get that. Like they did release all of it together on Xbox when it came out.
Two other games come to mind, which would be the Spyro Reignited Trilogy and the Crash Bandicoot Warped. I think it was Warped.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only other games I can think of that came out as a release in a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else comes to mind.
Yeah, I mean, there's other things that you could, like Borderlands had the Handsome Jack collection.
That was the next gen,
and that was 1, 2, and the pre-sequel.
Did that include all DLCs?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it did. Nice.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest improvement that re-releasing trilogies has is the DLCs. I think specifically in this instance of a story game, though, it basically integrates these DLCs to be the main part of the story.
Yeah.
Like,
well, I think it was. I was talking about
we won't spoil it, but there is a specific DLC in 3. There's actually in 2. There's a major DLC that I think very specifically should have been part of the main game because it actually adds quite a bit and leads into a lot of stuff in 3.
Can you give me a hint? Because I'm kind of blanking here, and I just beat 2.
Well, I can name the actual DLC. It's the Shadow Broker DLC.
Oh, okay.
That should have been in the main game.
Yeah, that definitely.
2. Like, because it leads into 3.
Yeah.
Like, there's a huge character in 3 that, like, is affected by that DLC.
Right.
And I didn't ever have that DLC, so when I went back and I played in 2017, I played Mass Effect 2, I didn't have any of the DLCs.
No. Well, because obtaining it on PC was very odd.
Yeah, you had to go through the BioWare store.
You had to go through the BioWare store, and then they had their like own currency, like BioWare points.
You had BioWare points, so you had to do, even with Origin, you had to use BioWare points.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I didn't want to do that anyway because all the DLCs when I played in 2017 were still
because they were charging the same price as Microsoft points.
Yeah, but also it was in 2017. It was still full price for the DLC.
Yeah,
it was still like $25 for the
That's just
DLC.
like Sims DLC too.
It's so I didn't want to do that, and they also never released it as like a pack. Like the one thing I like about modern games now is that they at least have like a Game of the Year edition that has all the DLC, and that game usually goes on sale for $25. I'm
kind of glad that's become a standard.
Well, I did that with Inquisition, so I played Inquisition on EA Play. Then played through the entire game. I wanted to play all the DLC. I went to go buy the DLC for the game because I was like, I already have EA Play, so why am I going to buy the full game? I just buy the DLC.
Yep.
But I was going to buy the DLC. I think for all the DLCs, it was going to be $45. Or I could buy the Game of the Year edition of the game for $20. And I get all the DLCs. And I get to keep the game when I get rid of EA Play if I ever do. So I was like, that's worth it. So I just did that.
Yeah.
But when I went back in 2017 and played Mass Effect 2, I didn't have that DLC. So the character that's part of that DLC in 3, when I like brought my character over, they're already just the Shadow Broker. They're just like, yeah, I'm the Shadow Broker now. That's it. The game just like, it's like...
fair.
Yeah, so if you're going to do that, like, you should just have this big explanation.
Yeah.
There's another DLC in 2 that... the reason your ship gets grounded when you start 3. This isn't really a spoiler.
No, you know that's a fair point because I was like,
in that DLC,
that made sense.
Yep, it gives you a reason that you're grounded.
When I went
Earth.
to 3, I was like, why am I here?
Yeah, so and I didn't have that DLC in 2017.
I didn't either.
So when you start, you're just like,
we're just because you told me about that. I go, what's that?
Yeah, it's just like you're just grounded.
And then I was like, oh, what's the reason for me being here? And then when I went to 3, this playthrough, I was like, okay, that makes sense. Because I also saved that to the very end as well.
Right, and I will say, they probably didn't originally think of that, but they thought of a reason to do those things, and that's probably when they came up with their ideas for 3, or maybe they already had their ideas for 3 when they were making 2 DLC.
Do you think like maybe they just didn't have time to make it into the final game?
Well, I think the developers asked to put more DLC in, you know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm okay with DLC, because I like a narrative DLC better than... like cosmetic DLC
which I feel like we're kind of rolling
and multiplayer DLC, huh?
We're straying further away from that as we get further like into.
Well, there's almost
new age
I
gaming.
can't think of the last game that's had like story. I guess like Metro has story DLC,
Yeah.
kind of. But
No,
like
that
Fallout
definitely
3 DLC, like Fallout 4's DLCs were okay, but they had both. They had cosmetic DLCs and they had
Right, the whole
story
creation club.
DLCs. But I actually really liked.
My leg is
not
starting
even-
to
not
cramp
even
here.
cramp.
Sorry.
That's okay.
It's the way I'm sitting. That's my fault.
I think that having those DLCs is fine, but when you release them as like this big, like trilogy and having access, and they're just part of the story now. Like everyone that plays this game now has these DLCs, and they all have this full, complete story.
Yeah.
Is huge. Like Inquisition, there's a DLC in Inquisition that takes place after the main game. Like you beat the main game, you like go to the end, and then there's a button you push that says start this DLC, and you go like, okay. The DLC takes place like a year after all the events of the like beginning of the game.
Okay.
It is the best DLC I think that's ever come out for a game.
Okay.
Like, or up there. It's like my top 3 DLCs because you get to see all the characters after everything has happened. So you get to like kind of like get a glimpse of what's happening. It sets up the next game perfectly, and it answers a bunch of questions about the ending of the original game. So it's like they should have just come out in the game.
Speaking of, because I want to kind of like, sorry to bring old topics back, but the E3.
Yeah.
Did EA do a presentation this year? And if they did they like show anything further on the new Dragon Age?
I don't think they did a presentation.
Oh.
I'm pretty sure. Unless they did.
I have no idea.
I have no idea either.
So.
Um.
I'm a gamer.
Definitely no Dragon Age 4 stuff because I would know. I would have seen a lot about it. But there's a DLC in Mass Effect 3 that's like that. There's actually 2 DLCs that are Mass Effect 3. There's a DLC that you commented on before. There's a DLC that adds a new character into the game. And
I'm kind of excited to experience these.
Yep, I actually got to experience it because I actually had all the Mass Effect 3 DLC when I played, because when I played in 2017, I had EA Play, and the DLCs were included with 3.
Now,
just not with 2 and 1 for some reason.
I bought 3. Actually, I got 3 in a Humble Bundle sale.
Yeah.
Back in like 2013, I want to say. So it was many, many years later. I want to say like 2016-ish. I bought a DLC.
Yeah.
Or it was so I could play multiplayer. There's something involved in that, but I didn't play any of the single player.
Cause like 3?
Yeah.
Oh.
So, because we were just like screwing out the multiplayer. I'm like, oh my god, this is actually pretty fun. And
is that when you played all 3 together in 2016?
The last time I played a game for Mass Effect was 2015.
So you've never beaten 3?
No, I did.
Oh, in 2016.
2015.
Oh, I thought. Okay.
Yeah.
I thought you said in 2016 you bought the multiplayer for 3.
No, I bought a DLC. I think that was required for multiplayer.
Got
it.
Yeah.
So going back and like experiencing everything new has been very fun.
Yeah, it's crazy how.
Because I actually think, funny enough, that we're talking about that. I am on a DLC right now that I had no idea that existed in the game. I'll just say it involves an Asari that was a criminal.
A DLC?
Omega.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
There you go.
You could have just said Omega.
I didn't want to like throw
That's
like,
not really do. Yeah, there
too many spoilers.
The name of the DLCs are all.
I don't know what the names are.
It's the Omega DLC, the Citadel DLC. The one that we were talking about that adds a character to it, I don't actually think that's named what it's supposed to be named. I think there's just those 3. And then they had some like other DLCs like the Cerberus pack for armor. And,
yeah. So there was one. Actually, want to see real quick.
Stuff like that. Those were all cosmetic ones. But, yeah, I played Mass Effect 3 in 2017 with that DLC. Like, because again, I had all the DLCs for 3 when I played through it last time. And I honestly thought that was part of the story, because I actually think like that was when I, for the first time, beat 3 was in 2017.
Oh, there was a DLC called Pinnacle Station, and that will be missing from, is that 3?
I I had all the DLCs for 3. I don't think that's 3. That might be 2.
Oh, it's 1. Mass Effect 1 Pinnacle Station. Okay, that's what's missing from the trilogy.
Got it.
Which I think it revolved around them not having the source code for.
Yeah, it was something like that. But yeah, I guess the DLCs in 1 I never played, but there were some really cool ones, like the Asteroid one. And,
That was really cool.
Yeah.
When I experienced that.
There was another, because I never played that either. Like, I didn't have any of the DLCs for 1
when you
or
also
2,
told me about that.
I told you to do that one later because...
But, like, no, there was that, and I thought that was a DLC that was in 2. I thought you were mixing the games up because they're very similar with the races.
Because there's a mission in 2 that's a DLC.
I guess that which leads
involving
into
an asteroid.
Yeah,
They
which
both
leads into
involve
3.
asteroids, which leads into 3, right? Yeah, because as a reward in 1, you get you could choose a weapon, armor, or a mod. I think.
Yeah,
or
I think
like
it's a biotic mod
or something.
yeah.
And I think I told you to choose armor. And I think I chose you to choose armor or weapon, but also do it later because the stats stack depending on your level.
Yep.
So, because they tier things from 1 to 10.
Oh, do they? Actually, I had no idea that's how they worked.
Yeah.
I guess that makes sense because as you get
they're Roman numerals. You didn't.
I didn't think of that because like some weapons go up to. Actually, I think I had a weapon that was 10.
It would be X. It would have said X.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think there might actually be 11 in.
Are you sure it goes like? Oh,
it goes
probably
1 to
right.
10.
But yeah, it's like
there's certain mods that don't. So some mods go up to 6.
Yeah.
And then or 5, and then there's a different mod that does the same thing that combines 2 mods together.
Yeah.
That start at 6 and go up to 10. So you had like
I did think it was pretty cool as weapons in the progression all that leveled up. You unlock more slots too.
Yeah. So as you started, I think at 6, like level 6 weapons had 3 slots for mods. They had the ammo slot, and then they had 2 attachment slots. So those go up to 10. And then same with armor and stuff like that. So if you were level like 27 or whatever and you went and got armor, you would get level 10 armor instead of, if you went at like level 20 and did it, you would get like level 6 armor.
Right.
Something like that. So you would find stuff better. To be fair, I actually think the one I got was level 8 because I think I did it when I was level 25 or something like that.
Okay.
Never found a better piece of armor.
No.
Never fucking found better armor. The cool thing was I started a New Game Plus to try and get some of the achievements. So I played for like 10 minutes or whatever. You get to keep all your armor and stuff like that. And it unequips stuff from your other characters.
Oh.
And it also unequips stuff from you
So they're back
as
at
well.
level 1?
So I have 2 of those armors now.
Oh.
No, your leveling is still up there. But those characters aren't in your party.
So what stays? The currency?
Everything stays.
Oh.
Except because the characters aren't in your party yet. Because the story hasn't gone on.
Sorry.
You're good.
Just getting leg cramps here.
That's right. You can cut it out.
Cut it. Wait.
I'm including that now. Fuck you.
Cut it out. I can't do the hand gestures, but you get me.
But yeah, it made everything feel way more complete having all the DLCs there. I think like including. I'm jealous of all the new players that get to experience that. Like I'm watching a specific streamer, Old Man Broski, play through all of the games. And he started with the first game, and he was like, "Oh, like this is like okay." And then as he got into the story, he was like, "This game's fucking incredible."
Yeah.
Then he went on to 2, and he was like, 2 is so good." Like like this
I
is
still
crazy.
think out of the entire trilogy, that's the best one.
My opinion has changed a lot now.
Is it because you have all the DLCs available?
I think it's because I have all the DLCs. I've played all the games, and they've all been updated to be relatively on the same level. And so I have a different opinion that I don't like a lot of the things in 2. So specifically, I don't like. They were just doing this because they needed to put out a game that was relatively on par with like what was out at the time. So they took 2 and they made it way less open world in a sense.
Right.
And they sectioned off everything into missions. And they have the end card screen, and like you finish a mission and it goes mission ended, like your summary and stuff like that.
Honestly, when I played that game for the first time since like I want to say probably like late 2014, before I got into 3, I was like, what is this? I was like, I don't remember this.
I do not like the mission screen. I definitely don't because it makes the game feel a lot smaller, segmented. The story's still good. Here's the thing that Mass Effect 2 I think has the best in all 3 games. Characters.
Yeah.
I think all the characters are legitimately written really well, and their loyalty missions are all ridiculously good.
There was one character I didn't really care for. That was Zaid.
Well, it's a DLC character.
Yeah,
so,
I know. But even Kasumi was better.
I didn't get to play with them the first time I ever played Mass Effect because I didn't have any DLCs for Mass Effect 2, so I never got them.
So those, I don't want to admit to it, but I did buy them afterwards. But I definitely did pirate the 2 DLCs.
No,
it was just a simple installer.
No. I feel like at one point I might have pirated DLCs for other games like earlier, like maybe some of the Fallout 3 stuff, if I remember correctly, because that was really easy to do for Fallout 3 because you just had to input the data file into the mod folder, so it was really easy. But I can't remember if I did that because I might have gotten the game a year for Fallout when I had.
I definitely did for New Vegas, but I'll say there's one thing I didn't like about now having all 3 games available in one instance. It's like the inconsistency between how they represented like the Citadel, right?
Yeah, sure. The way it looks,
the way it looks, and just like how the areas you can roam around.
So it makes sense. If you look at 1 and 3, they're actually the same. If you look at the windows in the hospital in 3,
no, that's sure.
You can see
but
a
it's
lot
like
of it
embassies,
being the same.
which I guess kind of makes sense.
The embassies make sense because all the embassies got destroyed.
Right.
So,
but the thing is what I don't get is from 1 to 2, is you're still in the same embassy.
No, you're in a different spot.
No, it's the same. It's I can tell you for a fact it's the same because I sent you that screenshot. And when I panned out because of the photo
you're
mode,
in similar floors, but you're not in the same like area though. Like you're still not like when you go to meet the council, you don't actually meet them. You meet them in an office space. In 2, when you go to 2, because when you first in 2, you go to the Citadel to meet Anderson and Udina.
That's the original embassy.
You meet the new council or the old council, depending on your choice in the first one.
Right.
You meet them in their office through hologram. You don't actually go see them in person.
But that embassy, that Udina's office, is the same as the first one.
It's not destroyed though, because you go by taxi though, and you can look at the windows. They're the same.
But wasn't that where?
No, because remember, you're talking about you go to the Presidium to meet the council.
Yeah.
You go to like the Citadel Towers to meet the council.
Right.
And then you have the embassies where you go and meet them. They're separate places. Like they are 2 separate places. Sovereign only attacked like that specific tower where you ride the elevator up.
Yeah.
That was the only thing where
I just don't understand like the reasoning for changing Udina's location entirely.
They probably moved him to just
and like even
buildings.
CSEC as well. Unless I'm assuming
CSEC. Well, they changed CSEC because they changed the procedures. Now, when you walk out where you land, you're landing in a different docking bay now.
Yes, that's what I was going to say. Like, unless you're just in whole separate.
So 3 and 1, you land in the same docking bay because they're still rebuilding the docking bay and stuff like that. Because you got to remember, stuff did get attacked still.
Yeah. Okay, so that makes more sense
when they were doing that. Yeah, 2 is everything's being rebuilt into. They even talk about that because you can talk to Commander Bailey.
Yes.
Captain Bailey in 2, and you could ask him about the different locations. He's like, the Sakara wards are like, like they're okay, but like, the old whatever wards downstairs, those are all destroyed now, or like still being cleaned up from Geth presence and like stuff like that. So he talks about how a lot of
because I guess to be fair, it was like 2 years between the first game and 6 months between the second and third game.
Yeah.
So it makes sense.
Yeah. Because 2, at the end of 2, everything's being rebuilt and almost rebuilt. Also, I think when you go to the Citadel, you're at nighttime. I'm pretty sure.
They also say in the first one?
Second one.
I mean, honestly, you
never know. Because I think if you look
'cause...
outside, you see night. Like if you go to like one of the windows that shows outside, it looks like nighttime. So I think that might just be a 2. It's a lot darker. Like 2 just takes place at a darker point. I mean, it's still like the inconsistencies are a little weird, but
no, I guess now I'm actually kind of talking about it rather than just thinking about it. It makes sense.
Yeah, because humans took over CSEC, or like a majority of CSEC, because they were the ones that saved the Citadel in like the attack or whatever, and they obviously became part of the council and stuff like that. Here's one inconsistency that I don't like, and this is a bit of a spoiler, so if you haven't played Mass Effect, like, spoiler alert, we're gonna get
so we're using this as a spoiler, but not the other thing.
What other thing?
The DLC.
Oh, I didn't say the names, or like I didn't.
No,
even
but we're gonna
DLC.
talk about this.
Yeah, I'm specifically now. Well,
All
now
right.
we're having a hard point of like this is
fair
now
enough, fair
spoiler
enough.
talk.
Fair
And
enough.
I'll add a little graphic at the bottom that says Mass Effect spoiler.
Okay.
You at the end of the first game can choose who you want to be counselor.
Yes.
So I always choose Anderson.
Yes.
He makes a way better option. Then in 2, he is the counselor. Like he is like on the council.
Yep.
You talk to him, he does things, he sanctions things. Beginning of 3, he's not there anymore.
Yep.
They don't ever mention now Ugina's counselor no matter what. What the fuck happened? They don't ever talk about him changing. Like it, I think they just like. I think they needed Anderson to stay on Earth, so they needed him to not be counselor. So they were just like, that's just.
I'm sure though we're talking about this because what I do love is when they make like things that don't have like an in between in games. They eventually make a comic for.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm pretty sure there's a comic that would probably explain that.
Yeah, probably. I mean, there's probably
If not, like
I think there is a comic that
novel.
talks about the 6 months in between, like what
Yeah.
happens.
So
And I'm sure Anderson just stepped down to rejoin the military or whatever because he hated the politician life. Because he even talks about in 2 that he hates being a politician.
Right.
So like I can see that, but it's just like I don't like that they did that.
no,
Like because here's the thing that's really great. Here's why Mass Effect to me is still one of the best trilogies and just RPG story games, in my opinion, is one, carrying stuff over from every game. It's not perfect. There's things that obviously, like, you're like, I made this ridiculous. Like, everyone's biggest critique is in the first game, you can choose to save the council or kill the council.
Mm-hmm.
And no matter what you choose, it doesn't really have an effect. Like, there's no
No,
long-term bad effect from
You're
that. Because if you save them, they still don't fucking help you in 2, and they still don't fucking help you in 3. So it
Right.
doesn't matter if you save them. If you killed them, people go, you hate aliens, you bastard. And that's it. They still help you and give you things if you're fucking
Yeah.
Shepard and they're an alien. They still, like, nothing bad comes of either thing. The only big thing that happens is in 3, you get the Destiny Ascension if you save them. You get an extra war asset and some special dialogue
That's it.
about the Destiny Ascension because it's still around. Yeah.
Huh.
That's the only thing that happens. And in every game, the council mentions that you save them. That's that's what you get. There's no huge
You ever
thing.
see like that diagram where it's like it shows the doors where it's like A, B, C for like game 1, then game 2 is like
Yeah.
A, B, C, and then game 3 it's like A, B, C, but then it just leads to one door at the very end.
Yeah, that was people's biggest critique for 3. But here's what I think, because I think people think there were a lot more in 1 and 2. There were more choices of dialogue because you had 3. You had option 1, option 2, option 3, pretty much for everything. There were some in each game where you had 5 options, like all the wheels were open besides the middle wheel, and they all had a consequence on like
Right.
the future of that conversation. Most of the time, it was just 1 and 2. Most of the time, options like middle option and top option, because obviously top option's good, bottom option's usually
Bad. Yeah.
renegade. Not bad, but just like more badass, like tough,
Yeah.
like, you know. And middle option was usually just in between and usually led still one way or the other. Like middle option was usually like it still led to a good outcome or led to a bad outcome. You just didn't know what outcome it would lead to, you know? Like it wasn't always just the middle option, which is why I think they just went with good option, bad, like, you know, good dialogue, badass dialogue, you know? Like, because Renegade isn't necessarily bad. Like I've seen a lot of the Renegade options now, and they don't make you a bad person, you're just more of a hard ass, you know?
Yeah.
So it's more like softy hard ass, you know? Like,
Right.
I think, like, it made it easier for them to write the game, obviously, because they probably had more time constraint and stuff because it was the biggest series and most anticipated game that EA probably, like, gave them this really tight time constraint and probably just made it easier to have those options. I still feel like you have all of the investigative options. I actually think 3 does a really, really, really cool thing where if you go into an investigative option, like you go to investigate and you ask them a question, it changes the original dialogue. Like
It does, you're right. Or it adds additional.
yeah, or it adds an additional thing. So like if someone was just like, they entered through here, and you have two options. You have like, wow, this sucks, we have to do something, or like, I'm going to go kick their ass,
Yeah.
And then you have an investigate option, or a third option that's just like, but are you okay?
Yeah.
And the person goes, oh, I'm upset they let him through.
Think,
the original two options changed to like, oh, you did your best, or like, you should have done better.
2 had something similar though.
2 had some stuff.
And I recall a conversation being with Jack specifically.
But it didn't change the original dialogue.
No.
It just added a separate tree on the side.
Right.
So it would be investigative option, and then you had a top and bottom option if your renegade or paragate were high enough, or it would just be like a top option or just a bottom option.
Right.
But it still kept that original dialogue there. I like that this made you finish your dialogue, Like it made you finish that conversation before it went back to the original. It was just like, it just made more sense because it would always be so weird. Like, you would ask a question, you'd be like, oh, but are you okay? And they would be like, yeah, like, I'm still upset about this. And you would be like, we have to go get them. And it's like, well, you didn't answer. You asked me this question that you didn't answer.
That's actually one of the things where I guess you kind of pointed that out. And it's like, well, I wouldn't normally lead into it like that, but all right.
I also will say Mass Effect has the best goodbyes. Like, especially 3, if you go talk to someone. Like, I remember you can talk to Admiral Anderson sometimes on the VidCom. And he's basically just there so you can ask him, like, for the galactic readiness and stuff like that. You can ask him updates on the world because your choices have an impact on, like, the rest of the galaxy. And I remember clicking on him, but I asked him everything already, so I clicked on him, and he was like, Shepard, did you need something? And you're just like, no, I just thought I'd check in. And he's like, all right, you should go out and do something. Bye. Like,
Now,
it's just
my
like,
favorite thing was,
changed,
because you mentioned that, it was just something very little, but like whenever you talk to Joker and he's like, all right, I better get back to whatever, he'd be like, whatever.
Yeah.
Whatever, Commander.
Yeah, because it's really funny because in other games that BioWare makes, even like Dragon Age, you'll go talk to someone and you just say goodbye and you're just like, hey, do you need something? And they just go, bye, and they leave. And that's it. And it's like, that's not a conversation.
No.
Like, I really liked it. So I think 3 did a lot of good stuff with the dialogue. I don't think 2 is my favorite. I still think 2 did a lot of really cool things that a middle game could do, though. The suicide mission, crazy. Like, I think that is why I actually really like all 3 Mass Effect games, and why Mass Effect is my favorite trilogy, is because me and you, when we first started hanging out, we talked about our playthroughs of the game, because I was going through and replaying them at the time. And I talked about beating him, and you were like, oh man, like this and this. And I was like, yeah, well, I had this character do this thing. And you were like, that character's alive for you? Like, I was like, yeah, like you get special dialogue and special options, and different scenes have different characters, and like, that is really cool. Like, the one reason I actually really like Old Man Broski's playthrough right now is he has made options that I never would have made,
Sure.
Because he tried to play Shepard in a very specific way that I didn't. Like, I tried to play a very nice, understanding Shepard. Yeah, and he tried to play a very, like, hard-ass but fair Shepard. So he's very split between Paragon and Renegade.
Yeah.
He'll sometimes choose it, but if he's focused on the mission and he wants to get the job done, he'll fucking do a Renegade option. Because he's like, get yourself together, we're on a fucking mission,
Yeah.
And, so he has a lot of things that, like, I wouldn't have done, and he's had characters die. Like, one, he killed Ashley.
Oh, really?
And Ashley killed Rex.
Oh.
In the first game. Yeah. Like, because a lot of times you kill Rex. Like, because
if you don't do the... His
in this
optional.
one, Ashley killed Rex, and then he killed Ashley in the mission in the first one.
Ending, yeah.
And I usually save Ashley. I usually try and save Rex, but if not,
it's funny
I kill
like,
Rex.
it's weird playing this playthrough. I definitely have more sympathy for Caden. I still killed him off. But I learned that Ashley is a big racist.
Yeah, in the first game she tells you she's a racist.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of dialogue I missed on my first playthrough.
Yeah, she's definitely a big racist. I actually like Caden because he's the voice actor for a character in KOTOR in the Knights of the Republic, the first one.
Okay.
He's like a main companion.
Huh.
So I actually really like his voice actor. So like
Karth?
He's Karth, yeah, in the first game. They're the same voice actor. And they actually sound exactly the same too. They also have the same temperament as well.
Now that you say it, it definitely sounds familiar. Weren't they both released around the same time?
KOTOR was released in 2001.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Sorry, language.
2004. You could swear. Just going there. I think I said fuck like a bunch of times. On
language.
2004 was the second KOTOR.
I see. Wow.
Yeah.
Yikes! I was really off in time.
But I think that is the coolest thing. And he on the suicide mission. So I on the first time I ever played Mass Effect 2, I accidentally saved everyone. Like I didn't mean to. I just happened to like choose the correct characters and have done their loyalty missions. So I accidentally made all the right decisions, I guess. You know, like I didn't know I was going to do that. So they all lived. For you had a few people, like a few key people that I kept alive die.
The only one I can think of, actually, there's just one person, was Morden.
Yeah.
That's because I didn't do everyone's loyalty mission at the time.
Yeah. And so he played, and the thing is, right, I know that they actually replaced some of these characters. Like one of the biggest thing is if Rex dies in the first one, you have his brother, who is the leader of the Krogan in the second one.
I don't know. It's weird because I don't think he ever actually...
But you get cool dialogue because in the third game, I don't want to spoil this. You'll see it. I don't want to spoil it. Sure. But anyway, in the third game, his brother's still there. Like his brother is still a person. So if you killed Rex and you played through the second game, you meet his brother in the second game, and then you have him in the third game. But if you kept Rex alive, you meet his brother in the third game, and you get special dialogue and stuff like that. So I know that at some point you're going to have to replace a character with somebody, right? Sure. At some point something's going to happen, but I think it still makes things easier. It probably opens up new options as well to be able to like end something in a specific way.
Sure. Well, there was the Asari, what was her name? Oh God. Samara. You can kill her, save the daughter.
Yep. And the daughter's in
I guess you could romance the daughter too.
Yeah, you die though. So I actually, I don't know if you knew that. I looked it up because
I read something. It was like someone didn't put a spoiler tag, but they go, it doesn't play out well for you.
Yeah, so she says that the reason people have died, like the reason people die when she does the Asari like intimate thing is because their will isn't strong enough.
Right.
And she says that your will is strong enough. So if you and her survive the suicide mission, she actually does it with you and you die.
So what is it, just like roll credits or?
I don't think I don't know if I watch it or they say it or whatever, but like that is a thing, you know. So I guess you could go watch it. So I don't know how that works if you import your character into the third game. I don't know if it just like rolls back that didn't happen. So maybe that character's like not there. But I think that's what's cool is you can at least see stuff, you know. Like even the absence of stuff still kind of says something about the story. Because you have a lot of extra missions that you probably don't get in 3 because certain characters are alive or not alive. Like in Old Brosky's playthrough, Tali died in the suicide mission. I had no idea you could even do that because she's a companion. So does she get replaced with a different companion in 3? You know? Yeah. Like they actually made all the characters in, I don't know if this is because of the DLC, but like Jack, for instance, is a playable companion. She has a skill tree and stuff like that. Because in one of the DLCs, you actually can go on a mission with her, and you can upgrade her skill tree and stuff like that. In 3.
I actually found out there's a lot of characters you can upgrade skill trees on.
Yeah, so it must replace, like, she might just be replaced. Because it'd be weird if all these people died in the suicide mission. Because you can have a lot of people die in the suicide mission. I was doing the
Omega one, and you could do Arya.
That makes sense, though.
And you could do... What is it, Nima or whatever?
Well, that makes sense because they're your only companions.
Right,
so
but it's just like playable companions like that sense.
Right,
it's like,
but that makes sense because like you need them on the DLC.
Sure.
So like I'm not that surprised. I'm surprised Jack has a skill tree though. She's not a playable character in 3. And the skill tree is different than 2. So they had to make that up.
Shadow Broker DLC.
Yeah.
There's like one instance where
you play with Liara in the second game.
And I had no idea. Yeah. I never did that in the first one.
Because you have to go to the squad
my first playthrough.
Yeah.
And I was like, and when I did this one, because it was Insanity, I was like, why am I getting my ass kicked? I was like, this is so hard.
Yeah, she's level 1.
And I pressed escape, and I saw I saw the squad menu blinking, and I was like, what?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you learn something new every day.
Yeah, so I just like I definitely, he's made me want to just go back and play again now. Like, and I don't think every time I've gone through and played the Mass Effect games, I've not wanted to go do that because I don't want to play the first game again.
Sure.
But I'm really excited to do that. I would love to do a new game plus of all 3
I
games.
think if I did, I definitely wouldn't be as heavy on the exploration.
Yeah, no. I'm definitely not going to do planet exploration. I'm definitely not. Because I also know what missions really have dialogue things.
Right.
What I will say, though, is what's cool is like the Cerberus missions, for instance. Those are all side quests. Like they're not even big important missions in the first game.
But there's some dialogue that still
you get dialogue from it, but that's not even a thing that it talks about in the thing when you transfer your character over. Like stuff like that's cool.
Yeah.
Like it's not a big option because in 2 you could do the comic where you decided your options, the interactive comic. So you wouldn't actually have made that decision. So that's like a little extra something you get for actually going through and playing the game.
Right.
You know?
So, yeah, I guess, I don't know. There's always, like, cool stuff like that. Even if it's, like, included or cut, which I guess is, I want to kind of segue into the next part, where we talked about it earlier, how there's cut content.
Yeah, there's an Anderson. Yeah, there's an Anderson.
Anderson.
Yeah, so I guess we're still in spoilers. DLC. So. But in obviously in Mass Effect 3, no matter what you do, Anderson dies. Like it's just part of the game.
But like this one extends the dialogue you have with him.
Yeah, you don't have any. So you actually have some dialogue with him, but you can't actually talk to him.
Yeah.
Like in the game, it just says a few lines to Anderson and that's it. This actually gives you an investigative menu and you could talk about everything. Like it gives you like a full conversation with him.
From my understanding, that's not included in the trilogy, the re-release.
No, that's why I said to you that there's like the extended thing. I think it was just cut. Like they just cut it all in general. They thought it was just a better story to not have it.
So that was actually one of the reasons when I found out, and I kind of want to, we'll start the segue into the next one. Mod support on release.
Yeah. So there is. So I think every game has mod support on release in a sense.
In a sense, yes, I agree with you.
There's some games that you need specific modules, like Fallout, for instance, has the creation kit or whatever.
Yep. Which is funny because you mentioned that before Fallout, which is what I really appreciate that people will do is they will kind of not like reverse engineer it, but like when Fallout 4 came out. There was like a not hacked, I would say. Hacked as like a chopped up version of Skyrim's creation kit for it to work for Fallout 4.
Yeah, right. They just kind of rebuilt their own tools until developers released an actual.
So, or things like that. Kit. Or like, I think when Source 2 came out for Half-Life Alyx, they were using, I think it was Dota 2's map editor.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dota 2 runs on Source 2.
Right.
So they were using like instances like that.
Yeah.
And I think it's really cool that like, the user fan base can.
I think that's because there is no official mod support for Mass Effect. That's why there are mods. There were mods day one.
They did mention it. They said they'll investigate it. Now, how far that will go, I don't know.
At this point, for the new Mass Effect, sure, because they're probably going to have to make it on Frostbite because EA is going to make them.
Yeah.
Which I think Unreal Engine's the way to go. I think at the end of the day, especially with UE5, and the nano whatever they're calling it, that's the future. Like you're not gonna have
sequences of
because if you can have those things change on the fly, you're gonna never need load screens, you know, because by the time it gets far enough away, it just deloads. You know,
game that did that very early on.
What?
RuneScape. It loaded it in sequences.
Sure, but this doesn't the nano thing doesn't do it in sequences like that though. It adapts on the fly.
No, you're
but
right.
It's similar to that, but it's way more.
It's a very older technology. What I'm referencing,
right, because games have done that for a while, having that fade where as you get further away, the textures will become better.
Yeah.
You know, as you get closer. But because this can adapt on the fly and so quickly, it's just that much more efficient and
right.
and
I
quicker.
Think that's very cool.
You know.
It's better than having those. Well, they probably still keep something like that, but the Jedi Fallen Order, where it's you climb through a lot of stuff.
Right, Tomb Raider has it. Gears of War had it.
You're right. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, a lot of games have it because it's just easier than having
a
full-on load screen, especially in smaller areas. I'm trying to think.
A lot of people complain about that, but I think it's cool
because it is a load. I think people complain because it is a load. So here's my biggest thing. Assassin's Creed. Because I think we've talked about this before.
The Animus.
In Assassin's Creed, you sit on a white floor in an endless room and you can run with your character.
Yes.
You know, that's the load screen.
Yep.
People are like, that's so cool. I was like, how much faster do you think the load screens could be if there was just nothing? Because right now it's loading. It has to run you loading, has to run your loading or like your running animation, has to load all of your textures on your body for you to do that, and it has to load this endless room as you're running.
Maybe.
So how many resources could you just get rid of and it just faster?
Sure.
You know, because it has to load something to do that, right? Like you're still taking up resources to do that.
Because
if you're not, why can't they just load the next part while you're running in the regular game?
Yeah.
It's
Sure.
just like,
I can't imagine as much, but I get what you're saying.
it's not going to be as much because there's not buildings and people and other things running,
Right.
but it's still, your character doesn't look like a blob. It's still loading the high resolution textures of yourself
Right.
and the animations of yourself. Like you're not fucking T-posing around. You still have these full animations and the cloth physics of you running. And
I'm sure there's some explanation, like documentation behind it. But
yeah, I'm sure it like doesn't take it by that much. I would much rather just have it load faster.
Yeah.
And I still feel that way with these animations of people going through things. I think the biggest thing, or the reason that they do that though, instead of just having these zones, is most computers probably don't need the zones. I think the zones are for consoles and computers
like
that might
their
take longer to
limitations.
load. Yeah, because sometimes when you're moving through those, if you have a really slow computer, it'll actually pause at the end of it and then like
which I actually think is funny.
skip, but
referring back to mods, it's Fallout 4's loading screen was tied to the frame rate.
Yep, yeah, and so is Skyrim. So I have mods for Skyrim and Fallout
weird.
Here's what's so Fallout 4, I have the new monitor, the 1440p monitor.
Yep.
And it's 75 hertz.
Okay.
When I launch Fallout, it only caps at 37 frames per second because VSync's automatically on. But it doesn't support
the frame rate.
It doesn't support 75 frames per second because the speed of you in the game is tied to your frame rate.
Right.
So if you uncap your frame rate, you'll just fly off the map or you'll hit a skeleton and die or whatever.
Right. I actually think a lot of physics-based... I think it was because Fallout... I think every game before... Or they might even still use it. Havoc physics was a big thing.
Havoc is in all of the games, yeah.
Pretty much every game, almost.
Yeah.
Unless it's like you're talking about like Rockstar's Rage Engine.
Right.
But like Havoc physics, and that was the thing with Halo especially, why they couldn't uncap the frame rates, is because everything was tied to the physics engine.
Mm-hmm. And so Fallout and Bethesda games still do that.
Right.
Because of the creation engine. That's still just what they use. And
sorry, it's gonna be Creation Engine 2.
And they don't. There's no. They don't have an option to set your frame rate.
Now I kind of makes me wonder, and I don't know if you think this is gonna be the same way. If someone's gonna reverse engineer the current Creation Engine for, I guess, Fallout.
You mean to like to take Fallout 4 and put it in the new engine? You mean?
No, like just modding tools essentially upon release. Like
I think
how
it depends
different...
on how much. I think it depends on how different it is.
Yeah.
I think it might be a lot different. So here's my hope, right? I'm hoping Creation Engine 2 took a lot of id Tech ideas since they own.
But they did the multiplayer. They implemented the id Tech multiplayer into the Creation. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm hoping that with Creation Engine 2, it's a big overhaul. You know, because here's the thing, we're still on Creation Engine 1, which is technically the same creation engine as. I think Morrowind was Creation Engine.
Yeah, the Game Pyro engine. So that actually goes back to 96, I think.
Yeah, so if we're still on the same creation engine, they haven't deemed it enough to be Creation Engine 2, I'm really hoping that this second one is a huge update. Like Source 1 to Source 2...
Oh, that was dramatic.
Huge. Just lighting and textures, everything.
No.
So I'm hoping that it's that big of an update.
It's actually pretty cool because
the
creator of Gary's Mod, he is making... I don't think it was... He's calling it like another sequel to Gary's Mod, but he originally started developing it in Unreal Engine. And then when Valve stepped up to him, like, hey, here's all the documentation.
Yeah.
They gave him thousands of pages of documentation. And he was like really impressed by like what the game and engine was capable of. Yeah.
I mean, like, I can imagine. I think there's a lot of cool things that all of these engines are going to do. I think I've seen enough projects, though, like taking old games from like the 90s and putting them in Unreal Engine 4 to see that Unreal Engine 4 is so adaptable and easy to do that these fans of these games are making these fully fledged workable things. Right. You know, someone imported What was the game? It was an old Star Wars. They did the podcast racing game.
Oh, the podcast.
Podcast. The pod racing game. Jesus Christ.
Yes, that was
They did
cool.
the pod racing game, which is from like 98 or something like that.
But that was a remake, I guess. Like they didn't import it. They remade it.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
They took another game from the 90s, like it was a Stormtrooper game, like Star Wars game.
Yeah.
That they did like a level that was on Tatooine. They redid, I think, Jedi Knights as well.
I guess it's just the willingness of what fans can go to, but yeah, just
But I
kind of
just
goes
think like having
the
an engine,
adaptability.
like if you ever heard the story of BioWare for Dragon Age Inquisition trying to adapt Frostbite to have an RPG system, it's just like a nightmare. Like they had such a hard time doing that. The fact that fans can remake these games with these systems,
but that's just like a
in
small
Unreal
thing,
Engine,
right?
What?
That's like a snippet of.
No, they're doing.
What a
but
full
it's
game
one
is.
person who's doing this thing. One person's using an Unreal Engine to adapt this thing, and a whole team from a $1 million to $1 billion company.
Well, that's kind of their
can't
fault for not.
figure out.
That was because you said it was like they didn't have the documentation.
BioWare wanted to use Unreal Engine, and EA made a good point. They said if all of our developers use Frostbite, then we can have synergy with all of these places. What?
I said golf.
Golf?
They have a Frostbite golfing game.
Oh. Then they could have synergy, so when another company goes to make like a shooting game and they want it to be third person, they can go to Mass Effect Andromeda and be like, hey, what did you guys do? Like, what did you adapt? Let's pull some of your code and put it into our game.
Sure.
Or if they want to make another company wants to make a first person game, they can go to Battlefield and be like, hey,
shared
what did you guys
assets
use? Let's do this. Right. But because no one had done anything besides Battlefield in this fucking engine that was designed for a first person experience, they had the hardest time doing Inquisition. Like, literally the hardest time. It was made for first-person modern shooters, and they tried to make a fantasy RPG system, you know? Like, it was hard.
Yep.
I think they said they spent 3 years getting a gameplay loop. 3 years it took them. And because it was developed by, I think it was developed by DICE, right? Does Frostbite, or...
Frostbite is by DICE, yep.
Yeah, in Sweden. So because of the time difference, the developers from BioWare didn't have time to. They would have 2 hours a day to actually
BioWare's
talk
Canadian French company.
I think
right?
BioWare Austin was working on Inquisition. BioWare has like 8 studios or something stupid, in a bunch of different places. Actually, I think they've like merged a bunch of them, but I think it was BioWare Austin, because BioWare Austin also did the Old Republic as well. Pretty sure.
Interesting.
But yeah, they only had like an hour or two a day, so that every day would just be like, well, let's just sit on our ass for 6 hours until the other studio wakes up, so we can fucking do our thing.
The problem with that, because like, you know, they're not gonna. I mean, I guess they're on salary as is, but no one's gonna want to be on call.
Right, and BioWare or EA gave BioWare full access to those devs. So like whenever they were available like that, that's what they were signed to do. But that was they had like 2 hours a day. So it took 3 years to develop this fucking gameplay loop, you know? And EA was like, you have to put multiplayer in it, you know? And then they tried that, and then they were like, well, this isn't great. And they're like, scrap it. Like now add a story. Like, you know, it was just like all this confusion. It was just like if you just had let them use UE and just let them fucking do it, like you have a way better game, a way better experience, and the story would have been so much better and more well thought out.
Unreal Engine 3 was great, and like
they would have been using 4
4 took 3 and just stepped up, and I was like, this is better.
And now 4 is just or 5 is fucking
just like ran
leagues above for this. But yeah, like I think like those games, like I think all these engines are great, and I think Creation Engine 2 is going to be good. I think they're going to have a way better weather system for the next Fallout game.
Actually, that was like one of the big things that they advertised in 76 was the
weather system, right? So I think like I will say the gun mechanics in 76 feel way more modern, even more than 4 did. Like I liked a lot of those improvements. Like it felt more like a way modern shooter, and 4 felt like a way more modern shooter than 3 did. But just like I feel like it's on par. I forget when you have a game like Rage, you know, that has ridiculously good, smooth gunplay. That if you have Creation 2, hopefully they adapt it. Or Doom, right? Just being able to adapt that into this new engine. I think like Creation Engine always has looked beautiful, like in its own way, because it never went for hyperrealism.
No,
it went
you're
for
right.
like this stylized look, and it always looked really good. It had some optimization issues.
I gotta say though, that's the one thing I like about like. I know a lot of game companies are kind of like leaning towards Unreal Engine, but each engine
I think
itself.
the worst thing is like they're not. But yeah, sorry, go ahead.
No, well,
That's my problem.
agree to disagree on that. But
Well,
each engine I do like has their own uniqueness to it.
Yeah, no, I agree. Every engine's good. Like Frostbite, incredibly good for cutscenes. Like beautiful, ridiculously well rendered cutscenes, and ridiculously good destruction in like gameplay.
Yes.
Like Battlefield 4, 5,
actually,
and
funny
1's campaigns
when they
were all
announced
really
the
good.
next Mass Effect coming to Frostbite,
Yeah.
I was like, oh man, I was like, imagine Mass Effect with Frostbite destruction.
Andromeda has that.
Does it?
Andromeda's on Frostbite, yeah. That's why
It has
Andromeda was
destruction?
better than Inquisition a little bit as far as gameplay
I mean, I
goes.
still have yet to play the game, so.
There is destruction of certain things, if I remember correctly.
But I was just thinking
not
like how
everything,
like the
but-
ground can like terraform with explosions and.
Yeah, no, it's still a Mass Effect game.
Okay.
But like they have like destructible like cover and like pieces of technology that
I see.
explode and stuff.
That's
like
still
so,
pretty
like,
cool.
Yeah, they have a lot more stuff, barrels and things that explode. Enough companies aren't moving to UE. That's my
You don't
issue.
think so?
No.
I think it's a. I wonder
Can
if it's
you
like a
name
licensing
any
thing.
AAA studio using UE right now that isn't like Epic? Like, that isn't Gears of War,
Maybe I just haven't really played like a lot of new games.
They're coming out with a new Dark Souls game they're not using, or supposedly, but they're not going to be using
Well, was
Unreal
Dark
Engine.
Souls ever using Unreal Engine? I thought it was their
No,
own.
they have their own, not shitty, I shouldn't say shitty engine. They have their own engine that isn't as good
What's
as
it-
UE.
It's
as
Konami,
UE.
right? From Software. It's Konami.
It has a specific name. And it's done great for all these games, obviously, but like, you have something better, Like, there is a better option
I wonder if it's
to
like
move to.
maybe.
They all don't want to pay the licensing fees. They all
Right,
acquire
I wonder if that's what
these
it
companies
is.
for their engines.
But
So-
like Unity's starting to take off, and that's a free. I don't know if they have to pay like.
Epic's free too. I think Unity is the same thing.
Isn't Epic free for like
as-
students though? You can't like. Make
I think
money?
it's free if you're not making money from it. I think once you actually like go to publish your game, you have to pay
I see.
fees. And I think Unity you might have to do that with too.
I
Maybe
see.
you might not. I can ask our friend Pogo who is a Unity developer. And he's creating a game in Unity right now, so I can ask if there's fees to later do it after, or if you pay a license fee when you first get it. Like, I know you can download Unity for free, right? Like, I could go
Yeah.
download it right
Yeah,
now.
definitely.
So I don't know if you want to start like actually developing and exporting if you need fees or whatever, or maybe there just are no fees and the engine itself is just like open source and free, or yeah, like I know Unity's big, but like I just feel like their engines are all good, and I think all these AAA developers have purchased studios to get their engine, that they don't want to bite the bullet and start paying Epic for their
Right.
engine,
Right.
But if your game's gonna be that much better, why not do that? Like I think the fees are sort of expensive or the license fees sort of expensive for Epic, but I feel like some of these other companies are paying a licensing fee for their current engine anyway. Like, EA's not, because EA bought DICE and
Right.
they own Frostbite. So I get why they're like, we already pay this fee, we already paid for this thing, everyone should just use this thing and we'll put a lot of money into like making it better. So I get that, but
I'm just
like,
kind of wondering now because we're mentioning that, and Far Cry used to use the Cry engine. They later renamed it to, I think it was the Dunia engine, which
Oh, I have no
updates as it
idea.
goes along. But
Yeah.
I think 2 used Cry engine, and then after 3 it was like Dunia or something like that.
yeah, I have
Oh no,
idea.
first sorry, it was the first one, then they renamed it to on the second one. But it's like things like that, or like Amazon bought the Cry engine as well, and they
Oh,
renamed
shit.
it to something else.
Yeah,
That's what Star Citizen runs off of. The game yet
Makes
to be
sense.
released.
yeah.
But it's like, it's like each kind of like branch off of what the game previously was. It's like these developers are building their own uniqueness onto.
Well, here's what I think is also like kind of sucks is the first Dragon Age when it came out, which I'm trying to play through on Twitch. Once my internet gets fixed, I'm definitely gonna keep playing because I actually had a lot of
First.
fun. Yeah, the first
Yeah.
one. I actually had a lot of fun playing through the hour I got to play of it. But the first one ran on its own engine. I can't remember what the fucking name of it is, but it's its own engine, and it was designed because it's a top-down like tactical thing that is also like third person that you can play. And then the second game was a modified version. I think it's the Eclipse engine or something like that.
I would let you know, good sir. It is the Eclipse engine.
Yeah. In 2, used just, I think it was Eclipse 2 or like a newer version of just Eclipse. Then Inquisition was the third game to come out, and they were like, oh, we're going to move modern. We already used Unreal Engine for all of our Mass Effect games.
Right.
Why don't we just like start using Unreal Engine? And that's when they made them use Frostbite. So they were already having to do a bunch of work to like switch engines, and they were like, you know, you have to use Frostbite now. But I think it would have been a way better experience to like have all of these things be
actually, according to this, BioWare updated the version of the Aurora engine titled the Odyssey engine for Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic.
Yep.
In 2003.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that makes sense for it. Well, so
the Eclipse engine was the successor to the Odyssey engine.
Yep, I actually did know that. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's a modified version of the KOTOR engine.
An upgraded version of the Eclipse engine known as the Elysium engine was for Dragon Age 2.
Got it. So it was just the upgraded version of.
In 2013, they went over to
Frostbite. Yeah. Which I think is like. They're already switching. We talked about mod support. I will say, Frostbite engine, way better for mods. There are a ridiculous amount of mods for Dragon Age. There's a ridiculous amount of mods for Andromeda. And they have a tool to be able to install and download them all. I forget what mod it was I put in 2. I only had one mod and I downloaded, I remember what it was. In Mass Effect 1, you were able to use all the weapons.
Yeah.
In Mass Effect 2, if you wanted to use a majority of the weapons, you had to play Soldier. You still only got like 4 weapons, I think, instead of all 5.
Okay.
So in 2, there's a mod you can download that lets you have all the weapons, just like you can in 1. And I was like, I actually kind of like that because in 3, you can also have all the weapons if you want as well. Like, you don't just have to choose between, like, pistol and shotgun. You can have all 5.
Yep.
So in 3, or in 2, I was like, I'd rather just have that same experience across all 3 games.
Right.
So I downloaded that. There was another one I wanted to download, but you can't because they all replace the same file. They all replace the coalesce.ini. So you either need an editor that would combine 2 of the files together.
Okay.
It reads the original file, adds in the code that is different, and then it reads the second file, reads the code, adds in what's different. It asks you if it wanted to over. No, that's what it does.
Oh, it does.
That's originally what it used to. You had to download for 2 if you wanted to install more than just one mod.
Okay.
They had a coalesced like compiler basically.
I see.
And you would add all the mods that you wanted, and it would go through and compile all of them, and it would tell you what files were in conflict. Huh?
And that was for the Unreal Engine.
That's for Unreal Engine. But they don't have that right now because that was just a fan-made thing that read the files and combined them in that way. So now if I wanted 2 mods, I can't do it. Unless it's a mod that strictly doesn't touch that file.
Right.
Because there's no way to combine those things. Which is also why it was hard to mod that game anyway, because if 2 mods conflicted with the same files, there's also no way to compile that either, because there's no load order either. So like you can't say load this mod and this mod. Like, it's just not designed for that. So I will say Frostbite is better for that. Creation Engine also ridiculously good. So if they fix a lot of the problems in Creation 2 and have the same mod support, like, you know, I'll go for
pretty much almost right from the launch though.
But well, because I mean, I downloaded mods for Fallout 4 like day 1. Like I'm pretty sure there was already mods.
Even if it was like something simple like
just stupid quality of life things, right? Like whatever.
I actually think like one of the very first ones I downloaded was like Rain of Brass, which was just like it leaves the shells and casings on the ground. Yep. And that was like
within like the first 2 weeks, there's just things that are easy enough to like
small things
for people to add in. So I will say there's no need to really mod your game day 1 if they actually do all the things that they should.
Sure, but there's always gonna be someone who adds something
for
like
Fallout
very
games.
User specific.
That's true. I think most of those mods come like 2 weeks after the game comes. Like you start to get like things that just add in new options like after the fact. Yeah. You know, because like the first week or 2, it's just quality of life things usually. Like lets you skip the intro if you fucked up and want to make a new character, or you know, this hat clips in with something, so this gets rid of the clipping issue that you have with hats, or like, you know, here's a thing that lets you change your hair color because for some reason you only have 3 hair colors instead of like 30 like you should have, like,
Right.
things like that. Which I will say, like, things like that, I guess, are up to the developer if they want to add in or not. Like, I get that, but, they're all topics like that. So I will say, like, the Frostbite engine is good for mods more than anything. But I just think, like, we would have a much more cohesive, like... Here's the other thing I also get, by the way, is you have a team already that are devs for a certain engine.
Yeah.
So I get you would either need to fire them and get new devs that can work on Unreal Engine.
Sure. Indisposable.
Or, huh?
I said indisposable. More like disposable. Sorry.
Right. Or you would have to train them to work in this engine.
Right.
In which case, switching to this engine is going to take a lot longer than it would before. if these devs are even willing to learn it, because even though all these engines like might have similar things, they're still all very different to code in, And I was talking to Pogo about Unreal Engine 5 and if he'd seen a lot, and he said, I'm not going to use it. And he goes, there's not a lot of that stuff until it comes to Unity that's going to, if any of that stuff ever comes to Unity, like if they ever add in features like that, he's like, so there's no point in me really like wanting those things and, like watching it and being like, well, I really want those. Like he's just more focused on learning whatever's coming out for Unity. So,
right.
I get that. If you already have this team that knows how to work on this engine and updating this engine is still just going to be a better like option, like I get that, like I think that's why like they have that staff there. And like I think that's why I am very appreciative. Like obviously we shat a little bit by just saying like, oh, he's fucking stupid. Like they're still using the fucking creation engine or whatever.
I say that.
Like I know we do, right.
But I'm also the person who'd be like, everyone's like, oh, Call of Duty's just a copy and paste. I'm like, no, but there's more that goes into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that goes into that. Like
and
obviously,
I'm not one to knock down developers because like, especially when it comes to like, I don't know shit about coding. I'll be honest.
Right.
I mean, that's probably given. But like when I was like giving my hand to 3D modeling, and I'm still like, even if it's like on the off burner, I guess at the moment, I still appreciate art like done by 3D artists, 2D 3D artists alike.
No, yeah, like I think like obviously we make jokes and we're like making fun or like shitting on some of these devs, but like I very much appreciate the work that actually goes into
definitely
to that stuff. Like I don't think I'd ever actually be mad at a specific dev in general. I might be mad, like I'm mad at EA as a whole as a company because they didn't give certain games enough time to come out.
Sure.
And in which case it rushed the devs and
which kind of makes me question games too long to come out and like the hype built behind it.
Yeah. Are you doing that because you looked at our note and we talked about it?
But like it kind of like almost leads into
No, it does. It definitely leads into it, which I think like, yeah, they go hand in hand. I specifically think like we had, let me finish the first thought just a little bit, which was, which specifically though, like I'm mad at the companies for their lack of working with their devs, because at the end of the day, like if a dev needs more time to do something because it can be a better product, like
Fallout New Vegas,
correct, right? Like that's it. Fallout New Vegas, Dragon Age 2, like Mass Effect 3, probably like there'd probably be way better. Like all those DLCs, there were 3 or 4. I'm trying to think of all the DLCs: the Omega, Citadel, Leviathan, and the Prothean. 4 DLCs. I think that's the most DLCs in any of the Mass Effect games, and they're all relatively long DLCs, and they're all, like, half of them are things that could have just been in the base game, And they added so much to the story and stuff like that it was like, I bet if they had more time, 2 of those DLCs would have just been in the game, as missions.
Sure. I think I actually mentioned that to you when we were at the gym the other day. I was like, maybe they just didn't have time to. Right.
And so I think, like, that might be one thing. They obviously made more money from having the DLCs. Like, I get that, and I get that's what the company's looking at. Like the devs just want to make a good game. The company wants to make money,
Right.
And so I get that there's a balance because there's always been a balance like that between production studio and the actual like filmmakers,
Right.
Filmmakers want more time, more money, and like the editors want more time and more money to work on things. That's why you have these big budget movies that sometimes have shitty effects,
Right.
Because they just didn't have time,
right.
Like no amount of money is gonna like.
Which comes to mind is Black Panther. Right, like the CGI on that, like
right.
Corridor Digital did the breakdown of it.
Yeah, there's just a lot of things
didn't
that
have
like
enough time
right,
or money
it's like,
to do either.
These companies get a bunch of footage,
Yep.
and it it comes down the pipeline. So it's like, okay, the movie studio just says this is the release date, so you have a year to finish all these effects.
Yep.
It then goes through like one people where they just like look through all the film, cut it down, and like make the sequence. Goes to these next people who are gonna like maybe color correct it or maybe add in like certain things to it or change it.
Yep.
Then it goes to the effect people, and as things change, like new versions come. So the effect people are the last people to get it, and so they have whatever time's left, you know? And so they have to prioritize all of these things, and they have to kind of pick and choose, like what shot's going to actually like be perfect and what shots are going to be, you know, like these are mediocre shots because we don't have time to finish them. Like, you need this movie done. You're not giving me more time. You didn't give me enough time to work on it. So like, you know, this is what I can give back. And so game studios like go through the same thing. They're like, you know, Fallout New Vegas and Dragon Age 2 both had less than a year, like a year or less to come out with the game.
Right, which is very unfair, especially that time crunch.
Right. So Fallout New Vegas, bunch of bugs and glitches, and a lot of stuff was cut from the game.
There's actually that one mod that the developer came out with.
Yeah, the Jay Sawyer mod.
Yeah.
Because Jay Sawyer was the either like lead creative or like director or something on Fallout New Vegas, and so he basically just added in all the things that were cut from the game or changes that he wanted to make that they had to change back because of time. Dragon Age 2 has a ridiculous amount of reused assets and less customization because you can only play a human. You have to specifically play a human named Hawk, like you have to. Which in the first game, you could choose your race. You could like one of the things that people loved about the first game. You could choose your race. You could choose your background. You could choose your class.
Thought that was very cool. And then when I was like, oh, imagine like a Mass Effect universe like that.
Right, like that would be cool if you could choose. And that's I guess Andromeda makes you play human, but then Dragon Age 2, you have to play human. You already have a name. You already have this background story. Like it very much became like Mass Effect.
Okay.
Which is fine if the game's introduced that way. And then 3 came out, or Inquisition came out, and then they went back. They were like, you could be whatever race, and you can choose like your class with more options now, and like you can choose your background. The only thing you choose in 2 is your class, and if you want to be a male or female.
Okay. Well, that really dumbs it down a lot from
a lot, and just to have time to add in all these extra things for the story. They had a year to come up with the story, to implement this new updated engine, to make the gameplay loop, to make also EA said you have a year to make this game. Also make it more playable on console because people on console hated your controls in the first game. So you need to make it better on console. So you need to add in controller support that's like usable. Which to be fair, it is. It's a very fun game to play with a controller. Like they did a good job of that, but. You know, they had to dumb down dialogue. Oh, they also wanted it to be fully voiced, so it's fully voiced as well. So
even
it
the
went
main
from in 2. 2 and 3 are both or 2 and Inquisition are both fully voiced. So they had to fully voice the main character, which is also why they couldn't make different races and stuff like that.
I see.
Inquisition did a good job with that because Inquisition actually just has 4 main voices. You have 2 female and 2 male voices, and that goes across all of the races. And you could choose.
I see.
So if I play like a human, I could choose between voice 1 and 2 if they're female or voice 1 and 2 if they're male. So I get like an option. So I can have like one voice. I go, oh, that kind of sounds more like I feel like my human would sound. And then you play like a dwarf, and you're like, oh, I think this voice would sound more like the dwarf. I don't want to play or whatever. Or like you vice versa. So they did a good job with that. But 2 didn't have time to do that. So they were like fully voice. Also implement better controls and, come up with a whole unique story that plays off of things that were in the first game.
Kind of makes me wonder, though.
Because you can import your character across all the games.
I see.
Just like
but it kind of makes me wonder, though, how they even, were a lot of the time to make Inquisition with, such a
They had 4 years to make Inquisition, but they had to develop the engine.
Right.
And then they were
I'm surprised they just didn't scrap it all together and be like, yeah, this isn't coming out.
It was just, I'm surprised. I mean, it was just going to be multiplayer. And then they told them to scrap, that was just going to be a multiplayer game.
Really?
And then they told them to scrap it. And work on a single player.
I think if they did that, that would have not done justice to the game at all. Nope. And that game would have been killed off and put in the pit. Which
is why people are mad that people are saying Dragon Age 4 was just going to be a live service game. Because people don't want that, I think there's a lot of money in it. And I think that's EA's biggest problem is you could very, very much tell that they don't even care if they make a good game. They just want money. There are game developers big AAA studios that you could tell just want money, but they also want a good product as well.
Sure.
I really can't think of that many off the top of my head.
No,
But
I
like,
mean-
they do want both. But EA, you could tell, very much does not care how good the game is. They honestly, because if they cared,
Well,
they have made so many games that have gotten such negative receptions when they first came out that you could tell they don't care. Like Battlefront 2 as well.
Right. The whole star cards and
Yeah, yeah.
until that got very big backlash.
Even Battlefield games when they were first coming out, either I can't remember if it was 1 or 5, but like it was a good game, but it got a bunch of shit for
it might have been 5, honestly.
like I think story or something like that. There weren't that many glitches or anything, so like that wasn't like that negatively received. Anthem, Andromeda,
Anthem.
Inquisition was still negatively.
I forgot
affected at
Anthem was a
first.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. And then also like FIFA, like even their sports games that make $1 bajillion. Like I don't remember if it was FIFA 2019 or something, but like got a bunch of shit and stuff like that. Like that's like 10 games
You
that
know,
like
I learned about
like,
that, by the way.
What?
When they released FIFA on like other platforms like Switch,
Yeah.
it used the previous version of the game's engine.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, it makes sense. Like Switch
So-
isn't super powerful, so
It doesn't need to be, but I'm sure at that point their engine can be very like easily
Well, there's a lot
optimized
of
as it
things. Like
goes.
you'd be surprised, like because we don't really play
Do you
sports
think like
games.
hardware limitations would actually play into that?
Yeah, because like they show there's like they brag about like showing sweat and like the cloth physics and
Sure.
like those are all things that are hardware intensive things that like if that's built, that stuff's probably baked into whatever engine they're using at the time. So like
Sure.
I could see them doing that. Yeah, that's all those games that are negative though. Like those all had like Anthem got ridiculously negative reviews and never bounced back. The first Battlefront got negative reviews and like maybe somewhat bounced back. Battlefront 2 finally bounced back once they left. Once DICE was like, we're taking over. Like get out of here,
Yeah.
EA. Like we're taking over. That game
But
finally
didn't
bounced
LucasArts
back.
also get involved in that too? Or
No, they got
Disney?
involved with no. They just pulled the license after. Like they were like, okay, like we don't want you to make any more Star Wars games anymore.
Oh,
Then they were like, well, Respawn's gonna make a single player game. Like they were just not making good games. Now LucasArts is an actual thing, and they're gonna start making games again. Like
Okay.
LucasArts became a thing again, and they're gonna start making Star Wars games, or they're gonna be a publisher that starts
Okay.
publishing.
I
Star
assume
Wars games.
Disney still owns.
Disney, I think, just either revived LucasArts or like
I
recreated
see.
it or
Okay.
something like that. So it's gonna
Well,
not.
maybe
be,
it's
not an
the-
EA specific thing anymore because I think EA just bought a short time like exclusivity
Sure.
where Disney and EA were like, okay, you're gonna make our Star Wars games for us, and now Disney was like, no.
Yeah,
not
well,
anymore.
maybe that was the
Especially
right
'cause
thing to do in
Respawn
the
can
long
make-
run.
What?
I said maybe that was the right thing to do in the long run.
100%. I think they definitely should let other companies make games. Because I think the cool thing I liked about all the Star Wars games that came out before Disney bought Star Wars was that they were so varied and interesting.
Well, were they
You
all
had-
EA or was
No,
it like...
no. EA had nothing to do with Star Wars at the beginning.
Oh, I know like Lucas...
It was
Lucasfilm
LucasArts.
at the time, wasn't it? Or-
Lucasfilm made the films, LucasArts made the
Oh,
games.
I see.
And comics and books and stuff like that. But other developers did too. Like it wasn't just LucasArts. LucasArts was the publisher, and other companies did the developing. So you have like Jedi Knights, or you have Star Wars Jedi Knight. You have KOTOR. You had the Battlefront games. You had like Republic Commandos. You had the Bounty Hunter game. You had all these different games, and they all had their unique like style and things like that. Because they weren't all the same engine and stuff like that.
I see.
And they were made by different developers.
I wish
But they
it
were all
said-
still Star Wars, Like
yeah.
it was great.
It's actually... Wow. I honestly had no idea there were so many.
Yeah, I have because there's a Star Wars pack that I bought before. Maybe it was after Disney bought and LucasArts shut down. But yeah, I have like all the Star Wars games. They had Empire at War, which was a strategy game, like a 4-time. Actually, I don't know if it was a 4X strategy game. Maybe it was just a strategy game. But yeah, there were so many options. Like there was so much content.
Infinity Ward made a Star Wars game?
Who?
Infinity Ward?
Was that Bounty Hunter?
I have no idea.
It
It doesn't say. It just shows. Oh, wait. Never mind.
Okay. There was a Star Wars mod in Call of Duty 4 that was big, but that was a mod.
I remember that.
Yeah.
That was actually pretty cool.
It was cool because it was a first person. It was basically like just an updated Battlefront. It was
Yeah.
before Battlefront actually came out. It was basically just that. But yeah, anyway, like I think like, they obviously don't care about money because all the games they made was bad. And that backfired. Disney was like, fuck you, we want our games to be well received because that will make money. Like, I think the one thing I think Disney knows, especially now that they bought all these properties, is if they make something that's at least good, that'll bring in money, you know? These 3 Star Wars movies that came out, they weren't great. They were good, right? Like, episode 7, 8, and 9, like, even if you didn't like 8 or you were a person that didn't like 9 or, like, whatever your opinion was, they're still good.
Yeah.
There are some people that just hated them, right? But, like, overall, the perception of the movies were that they were good. And in turn, that made them money.
Sure. I think that also led, like, the revival of those kind of led them to making the spin-offs, which have been pretty good.
Right. Mandalorian, good show.
Yep.
Probably make some money on Disney Plus. Same with Marvel. All the Marvel movies, they're all good. Are some of them, like, not so good? Like, yeah, but they're still good. Like, they're still all box office hits. Like, that's the thing. Even, like, Thor, I think, made the least amount of money. It still made like $400 million. Like, it's still like a good, successful movie, you know? Like, it didn't make $1 billion like Iron Man or $2 billion like Endgame or whatever, but it made fucking money. So I think Disney, like, knows that making a game that's good is going to make money. Like Fallen Order. You know?
Right.
I think it's something that they realize that actually has value. I think EA just thinks because they slap a tag on it that it's good, you know? Mass Effect Andromeda is the perfect example.
Yeah.
If you just slap Mass Effect on it, like, it's going to be a good game. And I will say, BioWare still did a pretty decent job, but they probably could have done a better job if they had more freedom and options and things like that, you know? Like, I really think EA has sort of fucked over BioWare with the creative freedom because they made BioWare put in multiplayer. I'm pretty sure they made BioWare add in the, like, currency to make more money.
Right. Well, because that was the thing with, like,
microtransactions.
I remember in Mass Effect 3 when they added, like, the crates and whatnot. And
I think that was the same thing. I think they made them add in multiplayer to 3.
Which, aside from the whole currency aspect,
I think
that too, which is fucking terrible.
Sucked.
But I think the multiplayer was pretty fun. I like the wave-based shooting.
I love the multiplayer in Andromeda. It is actually a lot of fun. So whenever you get to that game, like, I'll definitely go and play the multiplayer with you. Because it ties into the story sort of, like, a little bit. Like, not really, but, like, a little bit. You get, like, some rewards and stuff that are story-based.
Okay, but it's not going to, like, make a... Well, I don't know if it, like, really made, like, a heavy impact on...
You could not get... When the game first came out, before they released the extended cut of the game, which fixed the ending or whatever, which fixed, like, the original ending for 3. Yeah, whatever. They added in some stuff, added some content, and then, like, fixed the ending or whatever. You couldn't get the best ending of the game, like, the best ending, unless you played multiplayer.
Gotcha.
You had to play multiplayer to do that. That's cut out now because now you can actually have your galactic readiness go past the amount that you need. But before, you couldn't reach that amount unless you played multiplayer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that made sense.
Yeah. Because I actually think at first you could do every single thing in the game, and I don't think you could actually get there. Then in the extended cut, they made it so you had to pretty much do almost everything in the base game in order to get that ending, but you could still do it. You just had to do everything. You know?
I see.
So if you were someone that just wanted to, like, play through the story of the game, you can't get the best ending in 3. I think now you can. I think now they fixed that a lot. I think they lowered the requirements to get, like, that best ending. And you can talk to... That's why... what's his name's there. It's why you can talk to Admiral Hackett a lot in the 3rd game. Because you can ask him what, like, the galactic readiness is, and he'll tell you if you're at the point where you can get the best ending.
Well, that makes more sense.
Yeah, so, you know, I think, like, EA and other developers, too, like, we even saw it with, like, Activision. Like, Infinity Ward did a great job with Modern Warfare. Fantastic job.
Yeah, definitely.
And they still didn't succumb to... Activision's, like, you have to add in weapons that are more overpowered, because I actually don't think there's weapons. There's no new weapons that you get through buying. You can get weapon variants through buying, but the weapon variants also don't have anything unique about them. They're just attachments.
I think the only thing was the tracer rounds.
We didn't like the tracer rounds because they were just distracting, and we felt that did give you an upper hand.
Yeah.
Because it blinded the person that you were shooting at, you know? And so, which they might have toned down. You're like, well, that's right around the time we stopped playing, pretty much. So.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, things like that, I'm okay with up until, I don't know. Like, I always thought it was weird, though, that, like, some people pay, like, $10 for, like, a simple reskin of their character. But it's like, in
If you wanted,
my eyes,
my
that's
thing
not
is,
worth my money.
right.
But
That was
each
my
person
thing
has
too.
their own value of a dollar.
So like in Warzone, for instance, because they made Warzone free.
Yeah.
And Fortnite and things like that. I get why people buy skins. Because here's the thing. I actually feel this way with games that are free to play. If I like the game and there's only cosmetics, I'll pay money for cosmetics. Like,
Sure.
I don't mind paying for the Battle Pass because I like this game. I'm having fun in it. The only way that they keep making this game is if they make money. Right?
Right.
So at that point, if I was going to play this game 10 years ago, I would have paid $60 for it, or I would have paid $40 for it, or like whatever.
Right.
I would have waited a certain time. So now that I get to play it for free, I feel like I at least owe something to the developer because I want them to keep making games like this. I want them to keep doing that.
Right.
When it comes to the regular game after the fact, like that I already paid for, I get why people would do that. I get people just want to have like cool things and they want to keep supporting the developer. Like that's why DLCs used to come out and stuff like that. So I get why people do that. I don't feel the need to do that after I already paid $60 for the game, But I get why people would do that. I get why people see like that's a cool thing and stuff like that. Like I get they're just trying to make more money, which in turn really just keeps Activision happy. Because if you remember, when
Sure.
we first bought Black Ops 4,
Yeah.
because that was the first like Call of Duty game where they were like, we're making this game for PC. We're like putting a lot of extra time into making this game run well on PC. It's going to have specifically PC
Without
things.
a doubt.
100% did. And they go, and we're going to not have microtransactions that add in pay to win things. It's just going to be cosmetic. And we were like, oh, fuck yeah, like this is really great. Game came out, nothing at first. Like there were no cosmetics or anything at first. Then they started coming out with some cosmetics. And we were like, okay, they're like a little funky, but like that's fine. A month after that, they started coming out with guns.
Like, yeah.
Immediately, there were just guns that were better
Yep.
than the guns that were in-game that you had to pay $10 for. Or that you buy the Battle Pass and you got them at level 60, so it made sense to just buy up to level 60, which was like $30 if you were going to do that.
Right.
So they immediately just lied, And that's why Activision then came out and were like, we're going to have Treyarch make the next multiplayer after Infinity Ward's Modern Warfare.
Okay.
So that's why Cold War, I think, came out.
Oh, that did have a
Because
campaign.
Sledgehammer, I think, did campaign, and then Treyarch did the multiplayer. If I remember correctly, I don't know if that's true, but like Activision didn't like that Infinity Ward wasn't going to add in this shitty stuff, and Infinity Ward like stuck to their guns, and they were like, "Our game's going to make money," and the game fucking made a shit ton of money and still makes money. Like
I'm honestly impressed that like with Black Ops 4, like when that came out, it's like we're just gonna cut campaign altogether.
Yeah.
Like that was kind of like a little
that was
upsetting
shitty
to me.
too. I also didn't like that.
But when they like re-announced campaign for like Modern Warfare, I was like, oh my god. I was like, this is amazing. Not only because it was like a reboot, but because it's like, there's characters there that I'm very familiar with already.
I actually like that they did like a reboot in a sense, like a remaking and stuff like that. Because I think that's cool, and I really think that means that they're gonna hopefully make a second one and add on to it.
I definitely think they will with the way it ended.
Yeah, I think.
But the question is like,
are they gonna actually? is actually
how long before that kind of like
dies out?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I think Activision should just. I think
too much
these
hype.
companies should let. I think these companies should let their developers do what they're gonna do.
Yeah.
Like, because I think at
I feel
the
like
end
if
of the
that's
day,
the case, right? It's like, oh, we're sinking all this money into this, which
I get that, and I get at some point the publisher does probably know more about certain things. I think a publisher should still have a say in like, hey, we actually really want to add in this thing, but it's gonna take an extra 6 months, and the publisher has every right to be like, no, like don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't think the publisher should say, hey, we know you want to do this thing, but scrap your idea and use our idea because it's a lot better. Because we've seen how that's bad with movies.
sure.
Like 1,000% we've seen how it's bad with movies. I think that's one really great thing about what Disney does with Marvel is the directors have a ton of say in the movie. Like,
Sure. I think as long as it sticks to like the narrative. of what
yeah,
they're
they
trying to
still
tell.
have producers who say certain things.
Yeah.
But like the fact that like Taika Waititi was able to like get rid of his of Thor's eye and have Thor be this whole like different type of character than normal, and Disney was like, okay, like that's fine. Like,
no,
you
I
want to
think
do
that's
that.
actually pretty
And
cool.
the Russo brothers with Civil War and Infinity War and Endgame, like being able to do everything that they did. That movie was great because the directors were allowed that freedom.
Right.
And I think they owe it to the devs to do that too, because I think they don't realize that devs actually know what players want most of the time.
Right.
And they don't just see dollar signs, they see like what they could do for players and for these games.
Right. Well, I also think that kind of like what leads to the backlash of like, shit, if this game gets negative feedback, it's like, do we have a future? Do we have a future job? Do we, you know?
Right, because I think I think like that's the shittiest thing that can happen is a game gets negative reviews and the
IP's just gone.
Yeah, the IP's just gone, or the publisher just like doesn't want to use
like,
that company anymore.
What happened with, I think it was, oh fuck, what was it called? It was an EA game. I think like the company is Pandemic, where they made Destroy All Humans and Mercenaries.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, they killed them off. I think Mercenaries 3 was in the works, very, very early stages. But then it's like, you know,
yeah,
that must have been a terrible sound effect for the mic, by the way.
Yeah.
But, things like that. But it's like, hey, we're gonna like give this IP to a new developer and like let's make it as like a reboot or remaster.
Yeah,
and it's just like that's not doing justice to the original developers.
Yeah, like yeah. They're not great at. I think the publishers make bad decisions. I think developers make bad decisions too. Like, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
Like, I think a developer could totally say, "Hey, let me do this thing," and it doesn't pan out. But I think there's been time and time again where devs have shown that they have good ideas, and if you listen to them and give them the resources, that they can make really incredible things.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously, they can make mistakes too, but I think that gamble's worth it. Zombies is the perfect example of that.
Well, yeah, because that was supposed to be cut entirely, wasn't it?
It wasn't a thing.
Included.
They were just doing it for fun.
Yeah.
They had this thing that they would like on the weekends because they were in crunch time. That probably has made way more money for the Treyarch. That's like the main seller of Treyarch games was zombies. No one cared about the multiplayer for Treyarch games until like Black Ops 3 because they had the boots off the ground fucking game. But no one really liked Black Ops 1 multiplayer that much. Like zombies was still a huge
I guess you're right. But like I thought the concept of like I guess where they went along with Reach and like the money or currency, like the wager matches and all that.
Yeah, I think it was good.
Really cool.
I think all those games have. So I think multiplayer's always been a selling point of Call of Duty, no matter what. But I think a huge selling point was still zombies. You know,
right.
Like
now it's Warzone.
Same with Black Ops 2. Was Black Ops 2 the bus one or was that 3?
Yes, that was 2. I never played 2, but that was 2.
I don't know if that was a huge selling point because I know some people didn't actually like that as much. I know some people did and some people didn't. So that was kind of split. But then 3 had the multiplayer big selling point, which was the hopping around with your jetpack, you know? Like,
right. Like a mini Titanfall-esque.
And Titanfall still did that better. Like Titanfall did that so much. Titanfall did wall running because like there was no wall running in because the first Call of Duty that was Advanced Warfare.
Yeah.
Multiplayer I hated multiplayer in that game. It was like I could not stand it because they
did I
added
play that one? I think I did. I played Advanced
They
Warfare.
added supply drops. It was the first Call of Duty to add supply drops in, to add like loot boxes basically. And inside the loot boxes were these fucking gun variants that changed the stats of the gun.
Really?
And there's this one every Call of Duty has an overpowered gun. You know, that's just like a thing that happens. You're gonna have that with every game. There's always gonna be like an overpowered gun in a game. It had that. There was a variant of that gun that it lowered the fire rate by like 1 ping, but it upped the damage by 2 pings and maybe made the accuracy like go down by 1 ping. But or like damage went up by like 3 pings or something. It was like something ridiculous. This gun killed you in 3 shots. It didn't matter how much recoil it had. It could shoot 3 shots in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, you know, it was like, and I couldn't even, if I wanted to buy it because I was so pissed off, I couldn't even do that. I just had to buy loot boxes, which I ended up not doing because I think someone went through and actually calculated because you could get duplicates. There was no duplicate protection. So,
but didn't World War II have something similar to that too?
That was after the fact, though. And it still had duplicates. Did it have duplicates?
Yikes.
It did, but you could save up your keys or whatever to buy like a box that didn't have duplicates around.
I skipped over a lot of Call of Duty games.
No, I didn't, but I wish I did. You know, like
it's
just not.
So it was 2, 3.
I just like multiplayer in some games, and that's the easiest game to just get into multiplayer.
Oh no, I never played Advanced Warfare. I'm thinking of Ghosts.
Ghost was fun. I like Ghost.
So I played.
People didn't like Ghost.
I played these games way after the fact, so I skipped over.
Their campaigns were good, too, or like I actually did like World War II's campaign was like
right,
it was like
okay.
but
What release order it was? So let's say Modern Warfare 2, Black Ops,
Black Ops 3,
Modern Warfare 3,
then Black Ops 2,
Black Ops 2,
Advanced Warfare,
Ghosts.
Advanced.
Or did Ghosts come before 2?
Sledgehammer came, so maybe it was Black Ops 3.
I don't remember the order, but anything after
Black Ops Modern Warfare 3
Black
and
Ops 1 I skipped over. All the way up until Black Ops 4, which you
Did
ended
you
up
not play
buying for
Modern
me.
Warfare 3?
I did.
Oh, because it was 2 Black Ops and then Modern Warfare 3.
No.
Modern
Warfare 2, Black Ops. Yes, sorry.
Black Ops, then Modern Warfare 3.
So Black Ops 2 and later,
Yeah.
up until Black Ops 4, I skipped over. Which I was going to skip over that too. But
well, we played 4.
you bought it for
right
me.
Until. Yeah, well, because I wanted to play with someone. And it was on PC. It was actually fun. Like, we had fun.
No, it was
playing
fun.
We just...
I wish there was a campaign because like I love playing.
Yeah, no,
campaign
was fun. In the other games, like I do wish that they kept that in 4.
Yeah,
but
no. I think the game could have benefited from it, but if they saw they could make money elsewhere, why not?
All right. Well, I think we're gonna wrap up there. I'm blind and I actually can't see the time.
That's why I've been looking away.
We've recording.
2 hours and 31 minutes.
Oh, perfect. So it might be less or more. So I'm gonna cut out where we actually say the time. But thank you guys for watching.
Yes, thank you. This has been 2 Idiots on a Couch.
It has been 2 Idiots on a Couch. I've had a lot of fun. There's a few topics we didn't get to, but luckily they're not like time topical. They're more just topical about things in general. So we'll be able to pick up next week. And yeah, this was fun. I had a lot of fun doing this.
Yeah.
And we'll see you guys next week.
All right.
Don't forget to like and share and follow.
Is that a thing we're doing?
Yeah, you got it, right? You got to ask people to do things. Yes. I beg you, I'll get on my knees and beg if you please subscribe. No, I'm kidding. But this will be on a bunch of different platforms. But if you're on a platform where you're allowed to comment, we would love to see your comments. I'm going to try to put this on Spotify, on iTunes, and on YouTube. YouTube's obviously going to be a video platform. But yeah, thank you guys for watching, and we will see you next week. Do you have any closing thoughts, Jesse?
Bananas.
All right, what about you, Phil? All right, that was the Talking Dick. And I've been Beta. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.